Chapter 97. In the next 20 days, Tang Wulin convinced the royal family of the fighting Emperor Ling to stand on the side of the Tangmen. Then, he left. Wulin's next target was the Xingluo continent. Finally, he was going to set foot on the Xingluo continent again. He looked at Tang Wulin beside him. His temper still didn't seem to have improved. Wasn't it just that he didn't choose the God of Nature position? Why was he so angry? Sister, why are you so angry? Tang Wulin still liked to call her sister, even if he knew that she was his brother-in-law. Humph. Kid, are you looking down on the God of Nature position? Tang Wulin said indignantly. That's not it. I'm just... Sister, Poseidon's reputation is very famous in the Doloa continent, just as famous as your God of Emotions position, so... Tang Wulin's voice became softer and softer. So you King chose the sea god? And then you gave up on the God of Nature position that has no reputation in the Doloa continent? Kid, do you know that the reputation of the God of Nature position in the universe is thousands of times higher than that of Poseidon? Also, do you know that once you complete the first 4 stages of the God of Nature position test, Poseidon's God of Nature position will directly recognize you? It won't even give you a test. You idiot! Tang Wulin said with a face full of disappointment. Tang Wulin was stunned. The God of Nature position actually has this kind of treatment? Tang Wulin really didn't expect this. Oh my God! If I had known, I would have chosen the God of Nature position directly. I feel like I've lost out big time. Skipping a big part. The morning sun was bright and warm, and there was only a faint warmth, but it wasn't dry or hot. The morning sun always gave people a feeling of prosperity, and was pleasant. A bright-eyed girl was already standing in front of a tall, arched door in the early morning. Looking at the words on the arched door, she couldn't help but purse her lips. She really missed everything that happened here. Walking slowly through the gate, he saw that the 2 sides of the long passageway were filled with all kinds of plants. Under the light of the morning sun, the fresh air was particularly pleasant. Rather than an academy, this place was more like a large park, filled with the aura of nature. Her eyes were bright to begin with, but after coming here, they shone even more brightly. I'm at the edge of the heavenly spring pond. She dialed the soul guidance communicator. Oh. Why are you here? A low voice came from the other side. Of course I'm here for you. Is it convenient for you to come over? The bright-eyed girl asked softly. Okay. The answer was simple and direct. Hello, may I ask which department you are from? At this moment, an inquiring voice suddenly came from behind. The bright-eyed girl frowned and turned around. Standing behind her was a young man with a tall and slender figure. His eyes were bright and full of expression, and his body exuded a faint and dense soul power fluctuation. Looking at the beautiful face in front of him and thinking back to how stunning it was, the young man's heart couldn't help but beat faster. He pretended to be carefree and said, I saw you standing by the pond for a long time, so I thought you were thinking about something. Let's get to know each other. I'm a new student this year. But because I was in closed-door cultivation, I entered the school a little late, so I could only directly enter the 4th grade. The normal studies here were divided into 6 grades. Being able to directly enter the 4th grade was a kind of show-off in itself. Of course, he had the right to show off. What do you have to show off in front of her? The bright-eyed girl's brows relaxed again. I'm sorry, I'm waiting for someone. I don't think I've seen you before. The young man didn't seem to hear the bright-eyed girl's intention to reject him, and the smile on his face became even brighter. My heart is in a mess. Sorry. After saying this, she gracefully turned around and faced the pond again. Those who disturb my heart will have many worries today. How about I invite you to drink something and listen to you talk about your worries? The young man walked to her side and stood still. Do you think you're talking to an ancient person? A staff, the bright-eyed girl's face darkened. Please let me be quiet for a moment, okay? When she said this, she suddenly felt like laughing. If it was her from 5 years ago, she might have directly thrown this fellow into the pool. But 5 years later, she was no longer the little witch of the past. No matter what she did, she had to think about her family's reputation. She couldn't be as reckless as before. Thinking back, the past days were much happier. The young man shrugged. All right then. In the end, he wasn't a lecher. No matter how stunned he was, no matter how much he fell in love at first sight, he wouldn't do anything excessive. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, he suddenly noticed a trace of a smile in the bright-eyed girl's eyes. His heart stirred, and he recalled the methods his unscrupulous uncle had taught him. A good girl was afraid of a pestering man, and if he worked hard, he would have a chance. You're smiling? What's so funny about me? He stopped and asked curiously. The bright-eyed girl turned around and looked at him. I was just thinking that, if it were 5 years ago, someone like you who dared to buzz around my ear like a fly would have long been in the heavenly spring pond. But now, I have no choice but to pretend to be a lady. In order to find that person. The young man stared at the girl with bright eyes and a gentle smile in front of him, dumbfounded. The words that came out of her mouth did not match her current appearance at all. I don't believe it. You're not that kind of person, the young man said firmly. He didn't believe that a girl who he recognized as a goddess at first glance would do such a thing. Just as he was about to confirm the belief in his mind, he suddenly felt something tighten around his neck. Before he could react, he felt his whole body fly up into the air. The scenery around him changed, and he couldn't help but cry out in shock. However, his body flew through the air uncontrollably, drawing an arc in the air before landing far away. He tried to gather his soul power in fear, but he realized that he couldn't use it at all. It was as if his entire body had been sealed. He subconsciously closed his eyes and curled up his body. At this moment, something seemed to lift him up, and his body spun as he fell. His feet shook slightly, and he seemed to have landed on solid ground. He subconsciously curled up his body. However, he didn't feel the impact that he had expected. All he saw was solid ground. He was stunned for a moment before he stood up, and his soul power started to flow smoothly again. He looked at his feet in confusion, then looked at his body. He touched his neck, and it seemed like nothing had happened. However, when he took a closer look at his surroundings, his face was filled with shock. He was still beside the heavenly spring pond, but he was now in front of the school building. He looked up and saw that the bright-eyed girl was still standing on the other side of the heavenly spring pond 100 meters away. At this moment, there was another person beside her. He was tall and burly like a mountain. It's him? The young man swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Before coming to this academy, he didn't know what fear was. However, after coming here and seeing that person, he knew that fear was one of the emotions that people had to feel. That person was the dean of the academy, and he was in charge of supervising the students' daily learning and cultivation. Ever since he became the dean of the academy, the academic atmosphere of the entire academy had been raised to another level. There was also a legend about that person that was close to immortality. The next dean should be this person. This was something that almost everyone in the academy believed. At this very moment, that person was standing beside the young girl from before. When he looked over, that person's gaze also happened to be looking over. That person's gaze was calm and deep, and there wasn't any threat in it. However, that gaze from 100 meters away made his entire body tremble. Who is that girl? Long Yu sighed as he looked at the bright-eyed girl in front of him. Once upon a time, she was the first person who touched his heart. Everyone wanted to match the two of them. However, fate wasn't something that could be changed by one's will. In the end, he found his own home and she found someone she loved. However, the guy she loved went missing because of Shrek's destruction. Many people in the imperial family even said that he was dead, but she blindly believed that nothing would happen to him. However, who could survive a Godslayer's soul cannon shell? Long Yu was more willing to believe that that person was dead than to believe that he could survive a Godslayer's soul cannon shell. That was impossible. How could a human survive a Godslayer's soul cannon shell? However, she wasn't the only one who didn't believe it. Even his teacher, the #1 demigod on the Xingluo continent, Grace, said with a look of worship that a mere Godslayer's soul cannon shell couldn't take his life. Long Yu was puzzled. No matter how strong he was only a human. There was no way he could survive that kind of attack. Who told you that he was a human? Big brother Long Yu, you seem to have become stronger. As she said that, the bright-eyed girl raised her hand and pinched his thick and strong arm. The dignified teaching director in the academy was a little embarrassed. His face turned slightly black and red. He subconsciously took a step back and looked around. Yuner, pay attention to your image. What is your identity? Dai Yuner smiled and said, when I saw that person just now, I really wanted to abandon my identity. I still prefer my old self. What about you? Are you the same? Long Yu was stunned. Then, he frowned. What happened? Dai Yuner's delicate body trembled. She slowly said, Tang Wulin is here. He's here. Long Yu's eyes immediately became serious. He was still alive? How was that possible? Then, was his older brother? This was too inconceivable. Since Tang Wulin is still alive, then he must have news of his older brother. I must find him. Dai Yuner clenched her fists and said, You still haven't forgotten him? Long Yu asked. No, I found that I can't forget him at all. This time, I even dreamed of him. Dai Yuner murmured. Yuner, you are the most talented person in the history of the continent. You are already a Contra at such a young age. Yuner, it's good that you turned your grief and anger into motivation, but he is really not suitable for you. He and you are not in the same world at all. He could survive under the attack of the God-slaying soul guidance cannonball. This has already proved that his strength is now at an invincible level. Give up. He and you are not in the same world. No. I will never give up. This is the last chance. I must succeed. If Tang Wulin is here, he will definitely come. If I fail, then I will not marry for the rest of my life. Long Yu asked. Then I will find a way to force him out. Brother Long Yu, this time, I will have to trouble you to help me again. Dai Yuner said. Ai. Good, good, good. I will help you again. This time, how do you want me to help you? Hee. I roughly know the purpose of Tang Wulin coming here this time. It is nothing more than wanting us to stand on the same side as him. Then, I think Father will definitely not agree so easily. I'll go back and talk to my father. If that's the case, he'll definitely appear. I hope so. I hope you don't do anything stupid. In Tang Wulin's room, Tang Wulin was leisurely lying on the sofa. Suddenly, his ears moved. That girl is actually trying to stir up trouble. Hee. I haven't seen her for a long time, and she has already reached the level of Contra. Her cultivation speed is even faster than Wulin's. Hee. It seems that she was stimulated by my disappearance. The battle of the 5 gods. Hee. This time, I have stolen Wulin's limelight again. After speaking, Tang Wulin closed his eyes and rested. Should I appear in this body? Or should I disguise myself? The imperial palace was a dazzling sight to behold, and even though the Star Luo Empire had already begun to modernize with soul technology, the soldiers standing guard in front of the imperial palace still wore simple and unadorned armor as a form of respect for tradition. Coming here was like coming to the Xianra Empire 10,000 years ago. The current palace was no different from that time. Stepping into the main hall, the 40-meter-high dome, coupled with the spacious hall, gave off an invisible sense of oppression. On both sides of the main hall stood the civil and military officials of the Xianra Empire. It seemed that today was the day of the Xianra Empire's imperial court. His Majesty had clearly chosen this day to meet Tang Wulin for a reason. The smiling Doluo had already told Tang Wulin about this yesterday, so he was already mentally prepared. Looking up, the end of the red carpet on the ground was about a dozen steps up. It was an independent existence that resembled a small city. There were dozens of guards and attendants on both sides of the red carpet. Sitting in the middle was a man wearing a robe inlaid with gold, with a white tiger embroidered on it. The white tiger was the symbol of the Xianra Empire, and was also the martial soul of the royal family. Therefore, the emperor had always respected the tiger. At Dai Tianling's age, coupled with the fact that he was a powerful soul master, 5 or 6 years had not left any marks on his face. The last time they met, Tang Wulin had seen him from afar. Even during the award ceremony, he did not pay special attention to the emperor. But seeing him again today, he still had a strange feeling. He had returned, but with a completely different identity. Once upon a time, he would never have thought that he would be able to sit on the same level as the emperor of the Xianra Empire in his 20s. There was another chair next to Dai Tianling, which was also the only chair on this independent platform. An old man sat on it, his eyelids drooping, as if he was asleep. Grace. Tang Wulin remembered this name very clearly. He was able to sit on it not only because he was the ultimate Doluo, but also because he was the emperor's tutor. The current emperor had studied and cultivated with him for a long time, so he was very respectful towards him. But what caught Tang Wulin's attention the most was not the emperor's tutor, but the other person standing beside Dai Tianling. She was dressed in a long palace dress, and her hair was neatly combed behind her head, like an unmarried noble lady. The long palace dress had delicate phoenix embroidery on it, with the phoenix spreading its wings and looking lively. It was just like the owner of the dress, Dai Yuner, the girl who had once boldly pursued her brother, and her strength was also quite strong. Tang Wulin sensed her and realized that he could not sense her soul power fluctuations. How was this possible? How could this be? Could it be that she had cultivated to Contra at such a young age? After all, she was only 20 years old. That was too scary. He had many opportunities to cultivate to Contra, but Dai Yuner, what was going on? Dai Yuner looked at Tang Wulin and nodded with a smile. Tang Wulin also nodded to show his respect. She looked around and couldn't find any trace of the dancing spirit. Did it hide? See if I don't force you out. Dai Yuan quickly took a few steps forward and bowed. Your Majesty, the leader of the Tang men, Tang Wulin, is here. Dai Tianling nodded to Tang Wulin expressionlessly. Tang Menju, you have traveled a long way. Please rest for a while. We will discuss again after the court meeting is over. Thank you, Your Majesty. Tang Wulin bowed slightly. Naturally, someone brought a chair over and invited Tang Wulin to sit at the front of the civil and military officials. He was only a step away from the high platform in front of him. The smiling Dolo was invited to sit on the other side, while Shrek 7 and the others were arranged to sit behind Tang Wulin. Dai Tianling said, Tang Menju came a long way, and I can guess his purpose. Tang Menju wants me to stand on the same front as you, right? Tang Wulin was stunned and felt a little helpless. As expected of a wise ruler, he immediately guessed my purpose. Your Majesty is right. War is not far away. What we need to do is to avoid war as much as possible. If we really can't avoid it, then we can only help those who need help. The Douling continent and Xingluo continent need help. I think Your Majesty already knows the military strength of Doluo continent. Moreover, there is the shadow of the Holy Ghost religion among them. Therefore, everyone's enemy is still the Holy Ghost religion in the end. Tang Wulin said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. The Holy Ghost religion. Dai Tianling frowned slightly. You're saying that the people of the Holy Ghost religion have already infiltrated the Xingluo continent? It's not just the Xingluo continent. We've already received reliable news that the members of the Holy Ghost religion have all been mobilized. Their purpose is to infiltrate the various powers and usher in a new era, Tang Wulin said as he recalled the news his sister told him yesterday. A new era? Everyone was stunned. I don't know what a new era is, but it's definitely something that will plunge the people of the 3 continents into misery and suffering, Tang Wulin said in a very serious tone. I understand, Sect Master Tang. I'll stand on the same side as you. However, I have one condition. A faint smile appeared on Dai Tianling's face as he spoke. Tang Wulin was stunned. What is your Majesty's condition? Tang Wulin looked at Dai Tianling, but he didn't relax in the slightest. Dai Tianling smiled and looked at Dai Yuner. He slowly said, Tang Menju, you also know that I only have one precious daughter. She has been spoiled by me since she was young. Although she can't inherit the throne as a daughter, everyone in the royal family knows that in my heart, her position is more important than any of my sons. This is because her talent is the best in history, and she is a princess of the royal family. I can tolerate that she is not restricted by any of the royal family's rules, and she doesn't need to marry for the sake of the royal family. All of this is because she is the apple of my eye. Not only am I an emperor, but I am also a father. As a father, I only hope that my precious daughter can be happy. At the same time, I also hope that she can find her own home. Tang Wulin was stunned. He recalled what his sister had told him yesterday. Tomorrow, the royal family will definitely do everything they can to force me out. Wulin, help me delay them for a while. It won't take long. I have something to do. It seemed that his sister was really good at foreseeing things. He guessed it right away. When your Shrek exchange group came over, Yuner fell in love with Tang Menju's brother, Tang Wulin, at first sight. Tang Menju, I hope you can ask your brother to meet Yuner again, Dai Tianling said with a smile. Tang Wulin smiled bitterly and said helplessly, I'm afraid that a marriage alliance is your Majesty's goal, right? A sly smile appeared on Dai Tianling's face. On the other hand, Grace was stunned. A marriage alliance? Dai Yuner and that senior? This. Grace knew about Tang Wulin's true identity. Dai Yuner actually fell in love with her ancestor. This. Grace found it hard to calm down. He could only choose to remain silent. I don't know anything, Your Majesty, do you think I'm the kind of person who would buy my beloved brother? Tang Wulin suddenly said. Even I don't know where my brother's whereabouts are and when he'll be back. So, forgive me for not being able to complete the marriage. Dai Tianling seemed to have known about it. Haha. You don't agree? Then, there's no need to talk about it. Please ask the people of Tangmen to leave. Your Majesty, you have to know. You can't use love to joke about the future of your continent, Tang Wulin said seriously. No marriage alliance? That's fine, but you'll have to use another method to make us stand on your side, Dai Tianling said. What is it? Tang Wulin asked seriously. Dai Tianling looked at him coldly and said, In ancient times, there was a duel on the continent of Doloa called the Duel of the Five Gods. I've always wanted to say that the Duel of the Five Gods refers to a battle of soul skills, or soul masters. Battle armor, spirit, mecha, and weapons. But here's the question, were there battle armor and mechas at that time? Yuhao was the only one who had battle armor and mechas at that time, right? Don't talk to me about human-shaped soul tools, those things are far inferior to mechas. It originated from the peerless Lingbing Doluo, ancestor Yuhao. At that time, the Sun Moon Empire and the Holy Ghost religion attacked the Shrek Academy. In the nick of time, ancestor Yuhao came out of his closed-door cultivation. He successfully broke through the limits of humans and became the god of emotions. At that time, he single-handedly intimidated the million-strong army. Then, ancestor Yuhao sealed his strength and fought a battle that would be recorded in the history books for the sake of fairness. This was because ancestor Lingbing Doluo Yuhao used divine skills, a first-generation god-grade mecha, a first-generation God-grade battle armor, a God-grade weapon, and a God-grade spirit in that battle. Thus, he defeated the million-strong army without any pressure and won the battle. From then on, that battle was known as the Battle of the Five Gods. After that, this battle became a way for any country to resolve conflict. If the weaker side can challenge the stronger side for 5 rounds and win all 5 rounds, then the stronger side will have to withdraw their troops and not fight. They can't start another war for at least a year. Xingluo advocates martial strength and individual heroism. If the Tangmen can prove to us that you have such strength, then we swear that the Xianra Empire and the Tangmen will be like brothers from now on. This. Tang Wulin was stunned. Like brothers? What did this prove? Tang Wulin couldn't imagine it. The Battle of the Five Gods? Brother-in-law actually had such a battle record in the past? So powerful. I understand. Since your majesty has said so, then we agree to the Battle of the Five Gods. Tang Wulin said. Very good. As expected of the Tang Menju. Then, who will be representing the Tangmen? Dai Tianling said with a smile. I don't believe that this can't force you out. Tang Wulin was silent for a moment. Then, he decided. But just as he said that, he heard a familiar young man's voice. I'll be the one representing you. Brother, as the leader of the Tangmen, you don't have to do such a small thing. I'll take your place. He had a head of white hair, a white windbreaker, and a face that could topple the world. Tang Wulin was stunned, and Dai Tianling and the others were surprised. He really came out. Yun Er's method was so effective? Tang Wulin hurriedly got up and sprinted in front of Tang Wulin. Brother-in-law, what's wrong with you? Why did you return to your male form? He whispered. This is just a disguise. I'm still a girl, but my disguise can only be seen through by those who are stronger than me. Then, I'll leave it to you, brother-in-law. Chapter 98. This is the Empire TV station. Here's a message. According to the latest news from the Imperial Television station, the new Tangmen sect master, Tang Wulin, and his older brother, vice sect master, Tang Wulin, have come to the Imperial Television station to pay a visit. After a friendly discussion, it has been decided that Tang Wulin, the older brother of the new Tangmen sect master, will be going against the Imperial Television station in an ancient battle between the five gods. The Imperial Television station will be broadcasting the entire event, which will last for 5 days. This is undoubtedly going to be an epic battle, so make sure you don't miss it. The first match will be held in 3 days, and the next match will be held on a daily basis. Wait for your face to be slapped. We will continue to report on all news regarding the battle between the five gods. A message quickly spread throughout the entire Xianra Empire, and the entire nation was in an uproar. Those were the Tangmen. Legend had it that the Xianra Empire's most revered idol, Lingbing Doluo Yuhao, was the trump card of the Tangmen from 10,000 years ago. At the mention of Tang Wulin, many people were struck by a sense of familiarity, and after some people reminded them, they finally recalled who he was. Back then, during the Star Luo Empire's Youth Soul Master Tournament, he had a playful attitude and easily defeated one strong opponent after another, treating everyone as if they were nothing. He had taught the people of Xingluo the true meaning of fear. Soon, the day of the battle between the five gods arrived. The Xianra Empire National Sports Stadium was already packed to the brim, and all of the spectators were here to watch this match. A match could last anywhere from a minute or two if it was quick, to over 10 if it was slow. Battles between soul masters rarely lasted for long periods of time. However, it was precisely for this match that many people had paid exorbitant prices for tickets. Most of them were curious to see just how powerful this battle between the five gods would be. The rostrum was also packed to the brim. The Emperor of the Xianra Empire, Dai Tianling, and the Principal of the Monster Academy, Grace, had both arrived. Aside from them, the person in charge of the Xingluo continent of Tangmen, the smiling Doluo, Hu Jie, was seated on the other side of the emperor. Dai Yueyan had already recovered from his hangover from the previous night. According to the original novel, they had lost to Shrek's team, and they had lost to, and he was seated in the second row. Shrek's 7 monsters were also on the rostrum as they were special guests. Like Dai Yueyan, he was in the second row. Tang Wulin Tang, why isn't your brother here yet? Dai Yueyan Tang Wulin? I've said it before. My brother's whereabouts are uncertain. Even I don't know when he'll appear. That's why I can't answer you, Your Highness. Tang. How high do you think your brother's chances of winning are? Dai Yueyan asked with a smile. Tang Wulin turned to Dai Yueyan with a peculiar look in his eyes. If you knew who my brother was, I'd really like to see if you would still be able to say something like that. Chances of winning? Ah, Your Highness, the chances of winning are nothing to my brother. In his eyes, this battle between the 5 gods is nothing more than a game, Tang Wulin said in an indifferent manner. Dai Yueyan faltered slightly upon hearing this. What do you mean? Hee. You'll see for yourself, Your Highness, Tang Wulin replied with a faint smile. In the first row, the emperor of the Xingluo continent, Dai Tianling, turned to Grace and asked, Teacher, what do you think our chances of winning are? There's no such thing as a chance of winning, Grace replied in an indifferent manner. That's right. After all, there's a strong opponent in the first round. No matter how strong Tang Wulin is, there's no way he can win against him, Dai Tianling said with a smile. Meanwhile, NC's lips were twitching uncontrollably. If you knew who he was, would you still be able to say something like that? I'm not talking about the Tongmen's chances of winning. I'm talking about the fact that we have no chance of winning at all, Grace said. What? Teacher? You're not joking, are you? Dai Tianling exclaimed in shock. No, you don't even know how scary he is. He's even scarier than the legends say he is. Grace's body trembled as she spoke. What do you mean? Teacher, what do you mean by the legends? Is there a legend about this Tang Wulin? Dai Tianling asked in shock. I can't say. If I say it, he'll kill me with his own hands. Grace shook her head. Dai Tianling was at a loss for words. What was going on? Why was the holy dragon Doluo and Grace so wary of Tang Wulin? I'm afraid you'll kneel down if you find out who he really is. Also, I've always wanted to complain about Sam Sheo's memory. He wrote that when Grace first appeared, his title was Divine Realm Doluo, and judging from his title, Grace's martial soul was most likely a domain-type martial soul. However, he was now called Holy Dragon Doluo, and his martial soul had become the Holy Radiant Dragon. Had Sam Shao forgotten to change his title and martial soul at the same time, or had he changed it at the last minute? I really don't understand. A pleasant male voice sounded within the sports stadium. The trial of 5 gods has been passed down since ancient times. It originated from a great hero of the Xianra Empire, Lingbing Doluo Yuhao, and an important battle. In that battle, ancestor Yuhao single-handedly fought against an army of 1,000,000 soul engineers from the Holy Ghost religion and the Sun-Moon Empire. He won with absolute strength. In order to commemorate that battle, later historians personally named it the Battle of the 5 Gods. The Trial of 5 Gods was called that because it was a battle between the pinnacle of power. The party that issued the challenge would face their opponent 5 times in 5 days. Of course, if you were strong, you could end all 5 battles in half a day. The party that was challenged couldn't reject the trial of 5 gods. Otherwise, they would be despised by the entire world. There was no doubt that the party that was challenged had an absolute advantage. They could send out their strongest person for each of the 5 battles, while the challenger could only send out 1 person. The final victor would have the right to make a request. In ancient times, this request was often a year or even several years of exemption from battle. Sufficient time could allow an empire to recuperate, and it could even change the entire structure of the empire. As such, the challengers in the trial of 5 gods were often the heroes of the empire, as well as the spiritual pillars of the empire. If they succeeded, their names would be passed down through the ages. Today, we're going to imitate the trial of 5 gods in ancient times and present the empire with a series of spectacular battles. The Tangmen were one of the most important sects in the empire, and they had always made outstanding contributions to the empire's development. This trial of 5 gods is a celebration of the everlasting friendship between the Tangmen and the empire. Let's all cheer for the new vice-sect master of the Tangmen. F***ck off, they don't even want to cheer for us. Everyone was cheering for this trial of 5 gods. Regardless of the outcome, this trial of 5 gods was going to be one of the most spectacular battles of all time. It wasn't spectacular at all. 5 battles were easily settled in half a day. Am I a spoiler? After that, the entire stadium erupted into raucous cheers. It seemed that everyone was looking forward to this spectacular battle. Today, the first battle of the trial of 5 gods will be a mecha battle. Mechas and battle armor have already become the most important weapons in modern technology. The research into mechas and battle armor originated from the renowned ancestor of the Xianra Empire, Lingbing Doluo Yuhao. He was the one who had first proposed the concept of mechas and battle armor, and he had also created the first generation of mechas and battle armor. In the end, he and Tang Wulin had created the god mechas and god battle armor that could truly unleash the power of a god. As such, Lingbing Doluo is the true leader who ushered in a new era for our human race. How much do you like Yuhao? Are you a diehard fan? Today's mecha battle was going to be very spectacular. The rules of the mecha battle were as follows. The mechas that could be used by both sides were limited to black grade. This was to ensure fairness, as the leaders of the Tangmen sect didn't have a divine grade mecha, so if there was a disparity in the quality of their mechas, then it wouldn't be possible to truly showcase the mecha piloting abilities of both sides. During the mecha battle, soul spirits were prohibited, but everything else aside from that was allowed. The representative for the mecha battle of the trial of 5 gods will be the number 1 mecha division commander of the empire, the divine grade mecha pilot known as the Pillar of the Empire, Huang Xingyang. He was once hailed as the most talented mecha pilot in the empire, and he had won many mecha competitions to get to where he was today. On top of that, he's a powerful being of the titled Dolo level. He truly deserves to be one of the 5 gods representing the empire. Huang Xingyang's name immediately drew raucous cheers from the entire stadium. This was a household name in the Xianra Empire. He was the Pillar of the Empire, Huang Xingyang. The title of Pillar of the Empire wasn't given to him by himself. Instead, it was given to him by Dai Tianling after witnessing his incredible mecha piloting skills. Huang Xingyang had loved mechas ever since he was a child, and his father was an extremely outstanding mecha pilot. When he was only 2 years old, he sat in the cockpit of a mecha with his father. Ever since he was young, it could be said that he spent more time in the mech than in his own bed. Soul mechas were like a second life to him, and they were even more important than his own life. He had a special kind of intelligence when it came to piloting mechas, and that was why he was able to surpass all of the mecha pilots he had ever encountered. At the age of 23, he became a 9th grade mecha pilot with 6 soul rings, and he became one of the candidates to become a divine grade mecha pilot in the imperial family. At the age of 31, he became a titled Doluo, and the empire spent a fortune to construct a divine grade mecha for him. He was currently a major general, and he was the division commander of the empire's most powerful mecha pilot division. He was only 41 years old. Despite this, he was already very famous in the military, and he was also the vice dean of the Monster Academy's mecha department. In the Xianra Empire, Huang Xingyang's name was almost always mentioned whenever mechas were mentioned. One could only imagine how famous he was in the Xianra Empire's mecha industry. Two beams of intense light appeared on both sides of the stadium, and each left a halo with a diameter of 10 meters on the ground. Following a low clang, two mechas emerged from their respective resting areas and walked into the halos. Under the illumination of the lights, their appearances were revealed. Huang Xingyang's mecha was greenish-black, but it wasn't pure black. The mecha's body was streamlined and it was covered in layers of armor, but it wasn't cumbersome in the slightest. It was about 7 meters tall, and on its shoulder was a huge scythe that was definitely longer than its height. The scythe's long handle was held in the mecha's right hand, and the blade of the scythe, which was over 4 meters wide, shone with a cold light. The greenish-black mecha reflected a faint cold light under the illumination of the lights, and it gave off a sinister aura. As soon as the mecha appeared, an invisible murderous aura spread from it. There was no doubt that this mecha, the Pillar of the Empire, Scythe of Despair, was a close-combat type mecha. On the other side, there was an ice-blue mech with a height of 6 meters. The mech's eyes glowed with a bright green light and there were 3 pairs of retracted wings on its back. There was a piece of dark green alloy on its chest, and there were 6 blue floating cannons surrounding the mech. Both of its hands were equipped with inverted blade. Many people couldn't tell its level, and they didn't know what type of mecha it was. The mecha itself had a strange aura that couldn't be described with words. This mecha made many strong people's eyes light up. This type of mecha was never seen before, and its aura alone was so terrifying that it made them shudder. Even Huang Xingyang's eyes were wide open. This mecha, he had specialized in mecha repair for a very long time. With just his eyesight, he could tell the levels of many mecha at once. However, he had been defeated today. He actually did not even know what level or type this mecha was. Are you surprised? Haha. This is my own technology. This is a mecha that belongs to me. Hey, how about we make a bet? Tang Wulin's voice suddenly sounded from within the mecha. You. Huang Xingyang was taken aback. What are we betting on? Let's bet on who will win. If I lose, I'll build you a new mecha. Don't worry, it'll be much more powerful than your God-class mecha. However, if you lose, you have to listen to me. Tang Wulin's final words were only heard by Huang Xingyang. What? The first match of the Trial of 5 Gods mecha battle begin. Following the announcement of the MC, this pinnacle battle finally began. The Pillar of the Empire, Huang Xingyang's mecha, was named the Reaper of Despair by him. After he had gotten his hands on a God-class mecha, he had received more than one offer of astronomical sums to purchase the Reaper of Despair, but he had rejected them all. He and this mecha had long since developed a blood bond. Following the start of the battle, Reaper of Despair's feet slid as though he was wearing ice skates. He moved forward while sticking close to the ground and instantly rushed towards smart robot Ross. However, to everyone's surprise, Ling Luo did not seem to have any intention of dodging. Not dodging? Reaper of Despair was taken aback, but it still swung its scythe towards Ling Luo. However, Ling Luo did not move, and allowed the scythe to slash forward. Clang! It slashed forward. However, Huang Xingyang, the operator of Reaper of Despair, was shocked. The audience was shocked. Dai Tianling and the rest were also shocked. The Pillar of the Empire, Huang Xingyang's mecha, was unscathed. Not even a trace of damage was left behind. How is this possible? What kind of monster are you? Huang Xingyang exclaimed in shock. I'm not a monster. I am a mecha. However, the materials used to create me are things that you can never imagine. Ling Luo's voice slowly rang out. What? Huang Xingyang was shocked. The mecha spoke? Could it be? You're a God-class red mecha? Only a God-class red mecha can speak. No, I'm not. Just look at my color and you'll know. I'm just a blue mecha that has never appeared before. Ling Luo said calmly. Ling Luo, no need to talk nonsense with him. Take care of him. Tang Wulin's voice rang out again. Yes, master, Ling Luo replied. Then, the blades in her hands spun out, and the wings on her back opened up. With a slight movement, whoosh! Huang Xingyang and everyone present heard the sound of something tearing through the air. In less than a second, Ling Luo had already arrived in front of Reaper of Despair. With a light flick of her blade, Reaper of Despair was sent flying into the air. Before Huang Xingyang could react, he saw Ling Luo retract her blade. The 6 floating cannons that were circling around her instantly aimed neatly at the mecha in the air and began to gather energy. Sayonara, Tang Wulin chuckled. Boom! The 6 floating cannons shot out laser beams at the same time, instantly piercing through the Reaper of Despair in the air. However, what was shocking was that Reaper of Despair did not explode. Instead, it began to disintegrate in the air. In an instant, it shattered into metal slag. Huang Xingyang fell from the air and landed on the ground. Of course, he was a titled Doluo after all. He would not be hurt so easily. He still could not react. He lost? He lost? It had not even been 10 seconds. As for the audience, they were speechless. In 10 seconds, the pillar of the empire, Huang Xingyang, had lost. This was hard for them to imagine. Many bad-tempered crazy people even began to curse. What pillar of the empire? He couldn't even defeat a vice-sect leader of a sect. How embarrassing! That's right, that's right. I think you're getting old. Hurry up and retire. Shut up. In Ling Luo, Tang Wulin's voice suddenly rang out. His voice was not loud, but everyone felt that his voice was directly transmitted into their mind. The emerald crystal on Ling Luo's chest emitted a ray of light. The light floated out and formed Tang Wulin's figure. This is the vice leader of Tangmen? So young. So beautiful, handsome. Is he a man or a woman? Tang Wuling looked around at the spectator stands and said, Do you all think you're so bad *SS? Haha. If you're really that awesome, then come up and fight me yourselves. Don't be a trash talker in front of me. Pointing at Huang Xingyang, the fact that he came up to fight me proves that he's stronger than trash like you who only know how to trash talk. A bunch of people who only know how to curse but don't dare to fight me, you call him trash. But he came up to fight me. What about you? I'm afraid you're worse than trash. Tang Wulin finished coldly. The audience was silent. Many people lowered their heads, especially those who had caused trouble earlier. They shrunk their heads in shame and did not dare to show their faces. They did not know why, but in front of this youth, they did not dare to show their anger. You! Huang Xingyang stood up and stared blankly at Tang Wulin. He did not expect him to speak up for him. To be honest, he did not even know how he lost. You! Tang Wuling slowly turned to Huang Xingyang and said, Your mecha piloting skills are very good, but you've chosen the wrong opponent. In my words, you're just showing off your meager skills in front of an expert when it comes to mecha piloting. Remember the bet. After Tang Wulin finished speaking, he looked at the host. Change to the next round. Wait, the battle of the 5 gods can only be fought once a day. Before the host could finish speaking, Tang Wulin impatiently said, I said the next round, so hurry up and get me the next round. I have the final say in the rules now. Why? Not happy? If not, then hold it in. Because I'm stronger than you. This. Everyone was dumbfounded. How could there be such a person? He had the final say in the rules? But what was strange was that no one in the audience was angry and cursing. Instead, they were very excited and hot-blooded. This person was so domineering. On Shrek's side, Tang Wulin's face was full of admiration. His eyes were shining. Brother-in-law is so handsome. When will I be able to stand there too? Don't worry, it will be soon. Xie and the others were already used to the domineering Tang Wulin. But this time, he was so domineering that he had the final say in the rules. Dai Yuan could not close his jaw. Previously, he had made a bet with Xie that Tang Wulin would lose. After all, no matter how strong he was, his mecha piloting skills were not necessarily good. But now, he had been slapped in the face. His mecha piloting skills were so strong that it was off the charts. Young man, do you know of a type called automatic battle mode? Dai Yunar's face was full of admiration. So handsome! So handsome! I'm going to die, I'm going to die. I'm going to die from his handsomeness, this. Dai Tianling was speechless. Teacher. He looked at Grace. Ha! Let's do as he says. We must not make him angry. Grace said in a trembling voice. This. Dai Tianling was shocked. Must not make him angry? Who exactly was he? Your ancestor, the final battle of the 5 gods, the second battle, the battle of the spirit. Tang Wulin stood there leisurely. Lingluos had already returned to his spiritual world. On the main stage, Teacher, what do you think are the chances of winning the second battle of the spirits? Dai Tianling asked Grace. There's no chance of victory. And it's not just this match. Even the next 3 matches, including the final battle between the 5 gods, are nothing more than a game to him. Dai Tianling wanted to bang his head against a wall. On Shrek's side, Spirit Soul. Do any of you know what Spirit Soul he has? I've never seen him use a Spirit Soul before. Xiesun said. Everyone else nodded in response. As for Tang Wulin, weren't brother-in-law's Spirit Souls one of the legendary 7? Was he going to use one of those 7? But if he did that, wouldn't he be exposed? Big brother. A hint of concern welled up in Tang Wulin's heart. The host said, the second battle of the trial of 5 gods, the battle of the spirit. Next, I will introduce the rules of the battle of the spirits to everyone. The battle of the spirits didn't exist in ancient times. The creator of the spirits was none other than the great hero of our Xianra Empire, Lingbing Doluo Hui Yuhao. It's because of his creation of spirits that our soul masters haven't declined, and we've been able to survive until today. Hence, this battle is also a tribute to the creator of Pagoda, the mighty figure who created the spirit. Tang Wulin, come, come, come. Hurry up and pay your respects to me. The rules of the battle of the spirits are as follows. Both soul masters will only be able to unleash their own spirit souls during the battle. They can enhance their spirit souls to a certain extent, but they can't directly participate in the battle. This means that during the battle between the soul masters and their spirit souls, they can only use enhancement skills, but they can't use any offensive or defensive skills to assist their spirit souls in battle. One side's spirit souls have all been defeated. The match is over. A faint smile suddenly appeared on Tang Wulin's face. A spirit soul battle? I'll just remain silent with a smile on my face. Tang Wulin then cast his gaze toward his opponent, and he faltered slightly upon seeing this. This person was a little familiar. His opponent was a young man who appeared to be in his 20s with a head of black hair and a handsome set of facial features. He had been appraising Tang Wulin this entire time with an intense gaze. Tang Wulin looked into his eyes, and felt as if there was something strange going on in his eyes. Long time no see. I finally get to see you again. The young man stared at Tang Wulin with an intense gaze. On the rostrum, Dai Tianling was startled when he saw this person. This person isn't he. Teacher, did you let him go up? Grace shook her head. I didn't. He was the one who wanted to go up. On Shrek's side, Tang Wulin and the rest were stunned. This person looks very familiar. Xiesun tried his best to recall. Tang Wulin was the first to recall. I remember now. Isn't he the one with the Ice Dragon Martial Soul who chased after Big Brother in the Youth Soul Master Tournament? What? Everyone was dumbfounded. He's that guy who's courting death? But judging from his aura, he seems to be a super Dolu already. Tang Wulin said seriously. What? But wasn't he only at the Soul Emperor level last time? How did he become a super Dolua in just a few years? Everyone was astonished. It seems like he had some kind of opportunity. Tang Wulin muttered. On the stage. Oh, I remember now. You actually dared to appear. Tang Wulin said indifferently. What? Are you going to be my opponent in the spirit-soul battle? Ha ha. You're right. But before that, I have something to say to you. The young man said. Let's make a bet. How about it? Bet? What bet? Tang Wulin said indifferently. If I lose, I'm willing to be your servant for life. The young man said. Everyone present was shocked. A titled Doloa was actually willing to be someone's servant for life? Was this person willing to put down all his dignity? Why was he doing this? And if you win? Tang Wulin asked. If I win. The young man didn't say anything. He stared at Tang Wulin with shining eyes, then slowly walked in front of Tang Wulin and reached out to hold Tang Wulin's hand. I want you to be my bride. Huh. Tang Wulin frowned. Everyone was shocked by the young man. On the stage, Dai Tianling and Grace had a look of lust on their faces. Dai Yun'er's pupils shrank, then she glared at the young man angrily. You actually dare to have designs on my husband? Hey. He's not even your husband, unforgivable. Tang Wulin, Shrek, and the others felt as if their worldview was about to collapse. Big Brother/Big Brother was actually confessed on the spot. Haha. I didn't hear it clearly. Can you say it again? Tang Wulin's face gradually darkened. If I win, be my bride. I love you. Really. Since the first time I saw you, I realized that my heart was stolen by you. I can't help but fall in love with you. I know you're a man, but I don't care. Love can transcend gender. What kind of logic is this? I swear that I'll only love you in my life. I already have the strength to protect you. Look. After the young man finished speaking, he released his martial soul. 9 very powerful soul rings, 5 black and 4 red, appeared. Tang Wulin, trash. Ice blue dragon scales and dragon wings appeared. Then, 3 figures of light appeared. A 6-meter-long giant ice blue bear, a 1-meter-long scorpion with a jade-green tail, and finally, a giant dragon. The giant ice blue dragon's body was 100 meters long. This is my spirit soul, the first spirit soul in 10,000 years of the royal bloodline of the Icefield Bear clan. The spirit soul of the 800-million-year ice jade scorpion, known as the Sweeper of the Extreme North. Finally, the spirit soul of the 100,000-year-old ice dragon, one of the 9 strongest dragons. I have the strength to protect you. I like you. Therefore, I will definitely defeat you. The young man said confidently. Where the hell did you get your confidence from? Who gave you the confidence? Tang Wulin's face darkened even more. The aura on his body was also slightly unstable. It's over. This guy is finished. Tang Wulin turned his head and closed his eyes. The other 6 people closed their eyes as well. On the stage, Tang Wulin's mouth curled slightly. He raised his head slightly and revealed a smile with squinted eyes. Squinted eyes are all monsters. Hey, kid. Do you know? You're the person I want to beat to death the most today. Tang Wulin suddenly threw her head back and yelled, Beat him to death! Boom! Tang Wulin's forehead suddenly emitted many rays of light. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 11 rays of light instantly rushed out. Suddenly, 11 figures appeared in the sky. The figures of 9 dragons of different colors and shapes slowly appeared. There was also a 9-tailed scorpion and a golden qilin. His aura instantly caused everyone present to be unable to breathe. Even the young man's body began to tremble. In the end, his legs could no longer support him, and he knelt down. After all, he was in the state of releasing his martial soul. Now that 10 dragon kings appeared together, the pressure was absolutely terrifying. The one in the middle of the 9 dragons was a golden dragon. The dragon's eyes were scarlet red as it stared fiercely at the young man. Ignorant junior. Do you know who you are trying to hit? He is Lone. You, a junior, dare to hit on Lone's person? I will definitely kill you. How dare you hit on Lord Lone? Prepare to die. Roar. White Dragon King, Black Dragon King, Inferno Dragon King, Pipefish King, Earth Dragon King, Hurricane Dragon King, Lightning Dragon King, and Spacetime Dragon King. The 8 Dragon Kings roared furiously. My icy jade scorpion descendant has actually fallen to become your spirit? You have angered me. The 9-tailed Emperor Scorpion's 9 tails shook violently. Since all of you have said it, what should I say? The Golden Qilin thought for a moment. After which, the Golden Qilin roared, Junior! You actually want to ride on my master? Let me tell you that's impossible. Only I can ride on my master. This sentence seems a little weird. Tang Wulin suddenly said, Stop talking up there. Hurry up. Beat him to death. Yes, sir. 11 figures immediately rushed down from the sky. Then, with a miserable shriek, the second round ended just like that. The young man had already been pulled away by the medical soul masters. Yes, he was on the verge of death. All his bones and tendons were broken. Fortunately, Tang Wulin still held back. Tang Wulin calmly said to the MC, Next round. Oh, the third round soul skill battle. Let's welcome our Xianra Empire's Qilin Dolo Tong Yu. Once this was said, there was an uproar in the spectators' stands. The smiling Doluo was astonished. He looked at Grace. He's actually back? Doluo nodded. I was the one who protected him. Furthermore, there's something he hasn't done yet. You clearly know that he. Are you worried about your vice sect leader? Don't worry, even Tong Yu isn't a match for that senior. Grace said casually. This. The smiling Doluo Hu Jie was stunned. That senior? Grace, who had always been so arrogant in front of him, actually addressed the vice sect leader as senior? To be honest, he didn't know much about this vice sect leader. He had only received a notice from the headquarters. Listen to everything he says and don't be negligent. Hu Jie was quite perplexed. Why did they have to listen to him? As a super Doluo, he had his own pride and dignity, so why did he have to listen to a 16-year-old boy? However, after witnessing the domineering display of the vice sect leader of the Tangmen, who had won 2 consecutive battles between the 5 gods, he already knew why. It was because he was inhumanly powerful. Speaking of which, he wasn't even human. A man slowly made his way into the arena. He was a little frightening to behold. He was around 2-3 meters tall, and his body was extremely burly. In particular, his arms were much thicker than the thighs of a normal adult. There were scales all over his bare arms and face, and they were all 5-colored, making him appear extremely vibrant. As soon as he appeared, he immediately gave off a ferocious aura. His eyes were also very strange in color. One of them was blue, while the other was red. The blue eyes seemed to be able to freeze one's soul, while the red eyes seemed to be burning with flames. Tang Wulin was around 1.6 meters tall, and he appeared pitifully small in front of this man. Tang Wulin's eyes lit up upon seeing this. This time, an interesting opponent had appeared. 5 elemental Kirin, interesting. Tong Yu stared at Tang Wulin with a scorching gaze. However, before the match had even begun, a wave of curses suddenly erupted from the spectators' stands. Murderer! Get out of here! Why are you letting a murderer represent the Empire? What right does he have to represent the Empire? Kill him! Kill him! Tong Yu remained silent, as if he had completely ignored all of the curses being hurled at him. Shut up! Tang Wulin suddenly spoke. Everyone instantly fell silent. No one dared to provoke this seemingly harmless white-haired young man. He's my opponent, so what right do you have to curse at him? Isn't it just killing someone? Tang Wulin said in an indifferent voice. He was speaking in a very casual manner about killing someone. He slowly raised his right hand. Do you know how many people have died in this fair hand of mine? Let me tell you. Countless billions of people. The number of people I've killed is far more than the 1 or 2 people this Tong Yu has killed. Why don't you curse at me instead? That's right. Do you know how all of those people died? Some of them were blasted to death by me, some of them were stabbed to death by me, some of them were slapped to death by me, and some of them were brutally tortured to death by me. Do you know? I used to have a nickname, the Executioner. Come on. Why don't you curse at me, the man who has slaughtered countless living beings? Come on, curse me. A bunch of cowards. Dense killing intent instantly erupted from his body as his voice trailed off. Silence ensued. No one said anything, and no one cursed at him anymore. They had all fallen into a state of boundless horror, and they felt as if they were hallucinating. Countless towering mountains had suddenly appeared behind this harmless young man. However, upon closer inspection, everyone drew a sharp intake of breath as they discovered that those mountains were actually piles of human and animal corpses. Everyone was trembling with fear, and they couldn't even open their mouths to curse at him, let alone open their mouth. Holy Dragon Doluo, the smiling Doluo, and Hu Jie both drew a sharp intake of breath, and their bodies began to tremble involuntarily. Dai Tianling almost slid out of his seat in fright. Dai Yuner had already closed her eyes in fear, and she didn't dare to open them. However, she couldn't get the scenes that had just occurred out of her mind. Tang Wulin, Xie Sun, and the others were the only ones who could maintain their consciousness. However, they still couldn't help but feel fear. Just what had their brother-in-law been through in the past? Tang Wulin wondered to himself. Tang Wulin could sense that her surroundings had become so quiet that she could hear a pin drop to the ground, and she exhaled as she murmured, "The world has returned to peace and quiet." He turned to Tong Yu. "Come on. Show me what you're capable of." Tong Yu finally recovered from his shock. The scenes that had just occurred had truly given him a fright. He had killed people before, but he had never killed so many people. This young man really was the kind of person who had killed so many people that they could pile up into mountains. That's right, she really was a big-breasted woman. I'm a murderer, but compared to you, I'm a merciful person. Tong Yu sighed. It's good that you're aware of that. You seem to have something on your mind, little brat. However, we have to focus on this duel. I won't attack you. I'll let you have a few moves first. Tang Wulin placed his hands behind his back as he spoke. Tong Yu faltered slightly upon hearing this. He didn't think that this young man was looking down on him by calling him little brat. On the contrary, he felt that this was the fairest way to address him. Please enlighten me, senior. Tong Yu's aura abruptly erupted as he spoke. This was Limit Dolu. This was the aura of Limit Dolu. Everyone was astonished. Tang Wulin was also quite startled. Limit Doluo. There was another Limit Doluo on the Xingluo continent? Immediately thereafter, 9 red soul rings appeared. No one knew what to say anymore. Kiran Doluo, Tong Yu, truly lived up to his name. The scales on his body abruptly expanded, and he also abruptly grew to over 3 meters tall. 9 crimson soul rings appeared around his body, and he pounced directly toward Tang Wulin with an unstoppable aura. 5-colored light erupted from Tong Yu's body, and the intense light was rather piercing to the eyes. What was even more peculiar was that as soon as these 5 types of light appeared, the surrounding space began to warp and warp, as if 5 types of elements were converging toward him. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. This is a domain that encompasses all 5 elements, hee. As expected, your aptitude is extraordinary. If you were at your peak, you would have definitely been a good seedling to become a god. Tang Wulin appraised Tong Yu's aptitude with a single sentence. He was someone who had the right to become a god. The 5-elemental domain instantly engulfed Tang Wulin. You've entered my domain, so you're mine. Tong Yu thought to himself. He roared and made a grabbing motion with his right hand in Tang Wulin's direction. His second red soul ring lit up, and a large 5-colored hand suddenly appeared around Tang Wulin's body before grabbing him. This was the first soul skill of his second soul ring, the 5-elemental grasp. That's a control-type soul skill, Tang Wulin said in an indifferent manner. Immediately thereafter, his second soul ring lit up, and a massive hand appeared before crashing down toward Tang Wulin. It's an offensive soul skill, so it's a good combination of control and attack, Tang Wulin said with a nod. The massive fist was about to crash down toward Tang Wulin, but what Tang Wulin did next gave everyone a massive shock. Tang Wulin took a deep breath before blowing toward the oncoming massive fist. Whoosh! The massive fist was instantly disintegrated. This. Tong Yu was completely astonished. He only blew on it once? He was able to nullify my second soul skill, the 5-elemental fist? What kind of monster is he? He's only blowing on it gently. If he were to blow with all his might, he'd be able to set off a spatial storm. This control-type soul skill is indeed very good, but it's just not bad. Tang Wulin made a slight movement. Crack! The massive 5-elemental fist dissipated into 5 specks of light right before everyone's astonished eyes. Tang Wulin then looked down at his 5-elemental domain. What a good domain, but it's still far inferior to a true 5-elemental domain. He raised a foot and stomped it down gently. Boom! Something seemed to have happened to his 5-elemental domain, and even Tong Yu was unable to identify what had changed. Let me show you what a true 5-elemental domain is. Tang Wulin stamped his foot down again as he spoke, and a series of earth spikes instantly erupted from the ground in front of Tong Yu. Behind Tong Yu, a flood of water began to surge toward him. Tong Yu wanted to fly up into the air to evade, but just as he was about to do so, 2 green vines instantly erupted from beneath his feet, binding his legs and preventing him from escaping. In the blink of an eye, the earth spikes struck Tong Yu, and the flood of water surged toward him, sticking to his body as mud. Alright, it's going to be a little dangerous now. Do you know how to swim? Tang Wulin suddenly asked. I can. So what? Tong Yu replied in a serious manner. Oh? Is that so? That's good, I'm relieved to hear that. Tang Wulin snapped her fingers as she spoke. Boom boom boom. Tong Yu felt the ground beneath him begin to tremor, as if something were about to erupt. Immediately thereafter, boom! A vast sea of flames erupted forth, instantly engulfing Tong Yu. I wonder if you'll be able to swim in a sea of flames, Tang Wulin said in an indifferent voice as he crossed his arms. All of the spectators were stunned speechless. What the hell is going on? It appeared that Tang Wulin had taken control of Tong Yu's 5-elemental domain and was using it against him. All that was left on the stage was a statue of dried mud. Wasn't that Tong Yu? Perfect artwork, only 998. Tang Wulin's voice had only just trailed off when the mud began to peel off to reveal Tong Yu. You're still alive? Tang Wulin chuckled. Alright then, I have one last thing for you. You have to catch it. Tang Wulin pointed up into the sky, and Tong Yu raised his head to look up, upon which he was immediately petrified by what he saw. A massive metal seal was crashing down toward him. Boom. In the end, Tong Yu was still suppressed. In the end, Tong Yu was unable to hold on any longer and fell to the ground. Hee. How fun. You're much more fun than the previous 2. Tang Wulin clapped his hands with elation. He was smiling like an innocent little child. He was extremely adorable. However, everyone was still cursing internally. The first thing you did after the battle was to act cute? You fought for such a long time, and you're saying that you were just having fun? Are you trying to kill all of those powerful beings? Tong Yu was in a sorry state, and he turned to Tang Wulin as he asked, Why are you so powerful, senior? What's with your 5-elemental domain? You want to learn it? I can teach you. Tang Wulin replied with a faint smile. Tong Yu faltered slightly upon hearing this. I've lost. He extended a deep bow toward Tang Wulin. However, just as Tang Wulin was about to announce the next match, Kirin Dolua suddenly threw up a mouthful of blood before slowly collapsing onto the ground. Tang Wulin hurriedly rushed over to support him. "Are you alright, kid?" Tang Wulin sensed that Tong Yu's life force energy was rapidly depleting. You clashed your two soul cores together? Do you have a death wish?" Tang Wulin was astonished. Everyone hurriedly rose to their feet, and even Grace instantly rushed onto the competition platform. "Don't come any closer." Tang Wulin's voice immediately rang out. Grace didn't dare to take a single step forward. Tong Yu slowly rose to his feet. "I have something to say." "Make it short," Tang Wulin instructed. Tong Yu nodded, and immediately thereafter, his aura erupted forth. This aura was truly comparable to Dolua's. However, Tang Wulin completely disregarded it, as if this aura were nothing in front of him. In fact, this aura didn't even cause the corners of his clothes to flutter. A series of light projections began to appear around Tong Yu's body. These light projections were extremely clear, and it was as if they were projecting a series of light screens that were displaying a series of stories. This was mental manifestation. "Do you want everyone to know your story, kid?" After Tang Wulin finished speaking, a chair suddenly appeared before him, and he sat down. He then made a grabbing motion, and a bucket of popcorn appeared, as if he were watching a movie. "Let me hear your story, then." Everyone present was completely flabbergasted by this. "Can you be a little more serious?" The image changed to reveal a little boy and a little girl. The little girl was very beautiful, and even though she appeared to only be around 7 or 8 years old, she was already very slim and graceful. She wore a white dress with small pink floral patterns, and she was dancing gracefully on the green grass. The little boy was standing beside her, looking at her in silence. Even though he was also very young, there was a gentle look in his eyes. If one were to take a closer look, they would discover that the little boy bore a faint resemblance to Tong Yu. The little girl stopped dancing and waved a hand toward the little boy. The little boy immediately ran over to her and handed her a towel, then pulled out some water and food from his backpack. Tong Yu's deep voice rang out at this moment. A long time ago, there was a little boy who fell in love with a little girl. Both of them came from very ordinary families. The little girl was very beautiful and elegant from a very young age. Perhaps it was fate, but the little boy fell in love with her the first time he saw her. The little girl was very beautiful, so both adults and children were very fond of her. The little boy was the same, and he was quite brave. Even though he was still very young, he told her that he liked her, and he told her that he would love her for the rest of his life. At the time, the little girl proudly told him that when she grew up, she would definitely marry a great hero, the most powerful man in the world. Thus, the little boy set his goal as the most powerful man in the world, and he swore to her that he would work hard. From that day onward, the little boy became the little girl's sidekick. As long as it was something that she wanted, he would find a way to give it to her, even if he had to steal it. Every day, in order to take her to school, he would wake up over an hour early to go to her house. At their age, even though their parents were aware of this, they could only laugh it off. After all, they were still so young. However, no one knew just how much he liked her. In his eyes, she was his goddess. At the time, the little girl was 8 years old, and the little boy was 9 years old. The mental manifestation image silently changed, and the little boy was still seated with his legs crossed on his bed with a determined look on his face. After awakening his martial soul, the little boy had always been working very hard in his cultivation. However, he quickly learned that his martial soul was only an Earth-type dog, and his innate soul power was only at the 2nd rank. There was no future for him. At the time, the little boy was extremely determined as he always had a firm belief in his heart, and that was to become the most powerful man in the world no matter what. This was his promise to her. On that day, he would be able to marry her. The image changed again. The little boy and the little girl had grown up a little. The little boy looked a little quiet, but the little girl was even more beautiful. Many children of the same age surrounded her, and there were both boys and girls. The original little boy was only standing a little further away, quietly watching her. Tang Wulin murmured softly, "What a coward, he didn't even dare to stand in front of her. Back then, when I was chasing after Rushua, I shouted in front of the public of the 9 Purity Xian maiden sect, 'My wife, Rushua, I'm here to see you.' That scene made all the other women of the Xian maiden sect envious to death. Can you not compare your deeds with hers? You're deliberately trying to strike a blow at him." Of course, no one could hear his words. No matter where she went, the little girl was so attractive and the focus of everyone's attention. As long as the little boy could see her every day, his heart would be filled with satisfaction. On the other hand, the little girl had been bossing him around. Many children of the same age even called him a stray dog by her side. But he was willing to do so, as long as she was happy. When she was happy, she would ask him to play with her. When she was unhappy, she would hit him, scold him, and use him as a punching bag. However, the little boy had never been angry with her, because in the little boy's heart, she had spent more time with him. At that time, the little boy's family wasn't rich. He saved money for his meals every day to buy things that the little girl wanted. He himself only ate the cheapest food. The little boy in the image looked a little sallow and emaciated, even shorter than the little girl. One was brimming with youth, while the other was dim. The image changed to the gate of a school. The little girl happily rushed into the school, while the little boy followed behind, his clothes looking a little shabby. After a long period of hard work, the little boy finally made it into the school that the little girl wanted to attend. However, he could only enter as a working student, and he had to do a lot of hard work every day before he was allowed to study in the school. However, the little boy felt like he was one step closer to success. Time passed one day after another, and the little boy and the little girl both grew up. Soon, they reached puberty. The little girl became more and more beautiful, but the little boy was still as inconspicuous as ever. Furthermore, he was horrified to discover that the little girl began to attract many suitors. The two of them in the image had entered the state of being around 15 or 16 years old. The little girl was surrounded by a series of tall and handsome boys, while the little boy was looking on with his fists tightly clenched, holding the little girl's bag in his hand. A faint smile appeared on Tong Yu's face as he spoke, and he seemed to have already immersed himself in his memories. In order to prove his power, the little boy challenged the little girl's suitors over and over again in private, even if he was to be beaten black and blue. From that moment onward, he gained another nickname, the Mad Dog. However, what saddened him the most was that one day, the little girl suddenly told him that she hated him because he had caused her to lose all of her friends. No one wanted to play with her anymore. The little boy told her that he only wanted to protect her, and that if she didn't want to, then he would listen to her and only ask that she not ignore him. From that day onward, the little boy became even more reticent, and he worked even harder in his cultivation. However, his aptitude was still too poor, and as he grew older, the little girl became far more powerful than him. Among his peers, he was gradually being eliminated. However, he still didn't give up, and he continued to work as hard as he could. He believed that as long as he could persevere and pursue his dreams, he would succeed one day. That was until that day. Tong Yu's voice suddenly trailed off here, and even though he had sustained lethal injuries, his body was trembling slightly in that instant. The image changed to reveal a beautiful little girl who appeared to be around 18 or 19 years old. She was holding a tall and handsome boy's arm, and there was an elderly woman standing in front of her. They were talking about something, and the little boy who had also grown up was looking at them from a corner that they couldn't see. At the time, the little boy's mother had always known how much her son liked the little girl, and she had always wanted them to be together. She had tried to persuade her son that the two of them weren't suited for one another, but the little boy refused to listen. On this day, the little boy's mother was unable to find him, so she encountered the little girl on the way. She told the little girl that if she didn't have any feelings for the little boy, then she should tell him and reject him, but please don't hurt him. As a mother, this was the greatest wish in her heart. She only hoped that her son could grow up healthily and happily. However, at that time, perhaps because the little girl had just fallen in love with a boy, she wanted to show that she had nothing to do with the little boy. She told the little boy's mother that she had always treated the little boy as a follower, a dog, and that it was the little boy who had overestimated himself and insisted on sticking by her side like a plaster. She couldn't wait for the little boy to stay away from her. After saying this, she and her boyfriend walked away arrogantly. Only a mother with tears streaming down her face was left behind. The image changed along with his narration, and it also stirred up the emotions of everyone present. It didn't sound like the story of an extreme dolois at all. The whole story was simple and pure, but it was also filled with sadness. The little boy ran like crazy. Later that day, it rained heavily, and he couldn't even see the road. However, he just ran like crazy and ran and ran. Even he didn't know where he was running to. He never knew that in the little girl's heart, he was really just a dog. It was as if the most precious thing in his heart had been broken, and it broke his young heart. The young him was filled with impulsiveness. He felt that he was a failure, and he was a disgrace to his family. In this world, he had no hope of surviving. He bought the poison, and in his impulsiveness, he drank it in one gulp. At this point, the Chilan Dolua's face was already covered in tears. Even though so many years had passed, his heart was still filled with immense pain when he recalled everything that had happened in the past. Tang Wulin frowned slightly, and pinched his fingers to calculate. However, he calculated something that even the Chilan Dolua didn't know about. This. Tang Wulin was stunned for a moment and then sighed. So that's what happened. Although the little boy took the poison to commit suicide, he didn't die from the illness. However, he turned into a monster and scales grew on his body. He wasn't good-looking to begin with, and people around him were disgusted when they saw him. Even his family fainted when they saw him. At that time, his mentality began to change, and he became cynical. That day, he saw the little girl for the last time. The scene changed. When the little girl saw the boy, her face was filled with fear. She was clearly frightened by his scale-covered appearance. The little boy asked her if she had ever liked him, even if it was just a little bit. Although the little girl was a little afraid of him, she quickly remembered that she was stronger than him, and was not afraid of anything. Thus, she proudly told him that she had never liked him, and told him not to look for her in the future, and that she would only feel disgusted when she saw him. The little boy gave up. At that moment, he really gave up. After dying once and experiencing so much pain, the mentality of a person would also undergo a transformation. He sadly bid farewell to her, and bid farewell to everything in his youth. However, there was always a force in his heart. One day, he would come back. He would come back in front of her and prove to her that he could become strong, and that she had made the wrong choice that day. With this mentality, the little boy embarked on the path of learning. He didn't say goodbye to his family, and only silently left by himself. He only hoped that when he returned after proving himself, everyone would look at him in a different light. He was determined to not come back until he became a leader. It was also at that time that he discovered that his martial soul had begun to subtly change, which was later known as the martial soul mutation. Finally, he came to the place of his dreams. In order to be admitted to Monster Academy, he had put in a lot of effort. In the end, he was valued by a teacher and was accepted into the academy. From that moment onwards, his fate seemed to have changed. After the mutation of his martial soul, his cultivation speed could be described as fast as lightning. In the past, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't improve at all. Now, success came naturally. Almost every day, he was improving at a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. He was very happy. He believed that when he became strong enough, he would see the little girl's regretful expression when he returned to her side. Therefore, even though his talent was good enough at that time, he still worked extremely hard. He learned from everyone around him, learning from everyone's strengths and constantly training himself to become stronger. His cultivation increased day by day, and in 10 years, he gradually went from an ordinary Soul Grandmaster with less than 3 rings to a power that was close to that of a titled Dolo. His martial soul had also evolved time and time again, and it had become a divine beast. At that time, he had chosen to go into seclusion. He had already made up his mind that after his seclusion, he would go back and find that little girl. He would stand in front of her and tell her that he had become a powerful being, and that he would definitely stand at the peak of this world in the future. At that time, the little boy didn't have much hope in his heart. He just wanted to regain his dignity. Perhaps it was because his hard work had been blessed by the heavens, but during that seclusion, he entered a state of deep meditation. Furthermore, it was a long period of deep meditation. It was like a long sleep. When he woke up from his sleep, he was shocked to discover that not only had he become a titled Doloa, but he had also accumulated a lot of power. When he obtained his 9th soul skill, his cultivation instantly soared, and he became a transcendent Doloa in an instant. From a titled Doloa to a super Doloa, it was almost an instant. At that time, he was already the most powerful person in the younger generation of the entire Monster Academy. There was no one else like him. After more than 10 years, he suddenly missed home. He missed his mother. His father had passed away when he was young, and he and his mother relied on each other for survival. When he set off on his return journey, his heart was filled with guilt toward his mother. Back when his entire body was covered in scales, his mother found out that he had taken poison, and she scolded him. However, behind that scolding was actually a deep heartache. However, at that time, he didn't understand. He only blamed the heavens and blamed others. Then, he left for more than 10 years. He really was an unfilial son, and he regretted it very much. He swore that when he returned, he would make sure that his mother lived a good life. After demonstrating his power to that little girl, he took his mother back to the academy so that she could enjoy the rest of her life. When they finally returned home, the little boy was very nervous. He didn't know if his mother would recognize him because of his long absence, and he didn't know if his mother would forgive him. However, when he finally saw his mother, he never would have thought that she would have become like this. The scene changed again. It was an extremely shabby room, and there was a sickly woman lying on a sickbed. What was even more shocking was that she had lost her legs, and her face was sallow. She was on her last breath. Kirindolua was sobbing uncontrollably at this point. When the little boy saw his mother again, she had already lost her legs and was on her last breath. She persisted in this state for 3 whole years, all for the sake of clinging onto the last shred of hope that she would be able to see her son return to her side. She wanted to touch her son's face and hear his voice in her final moments. Many of the people present were shedding tears, and Tang Wulin couldn't hold back his tears any longer. He missed his parents and adoptive parent. Tang Wulin listened in silence the entire time. He had just deduced the entire sequence of events, and he was truly beginning to sympathize with Tong Yu. Tong Yu was truly pitiful, but he was also detestable. His method of revenge was far too excessive. However, this made him recall an incident from a long time ago. In the cultivation world, there was a white-haired young man who went berserk after an ancient sect massacred the small village that he had once lived in. He slaughtered all of the members of that sect, from the old monsters who were in seclusion in their coffins to the cats and dogs, and his actions caused his name to spread far and wide. He had destroyed an ancient sect just to avenge a small village. This kid really reminds me of me when I escaped from Xiaoyao Mountain, Tang Wulin murmured to himself. Chapter 99. Senior. Why did you resurrect me again? Why? Tong Yu asked in a sorrowful voice. He had already chosen to commit suicide, so why had this senior resurrected him again? Little brat, do you want to know the truth? Tang Wulin suddenly asked. The truth. Tong Yu faltered upon hearing this. Tang Wulin snapped his fingers, and an illusionary girl slowly appeared before everyone. Arg! Everyone was stunned. Even Tong Yu was rooted to the spot. She had been resurrected? The person who had appeared before everyone was none other than the girl that Tong Yu loved the most, who had been killed by him a long time ago. Don't overthink this. I only borrowed it from Hades, Tang Wulin said in an indifferent voice before turning to the girl. If you have anything else to say to him, then hurry up. The illusionary girl looked at Tong Yu, and everyone had thought that she was going to lash out at him in rage. However, she did not do so. Instead, a look of elation appeared on her face. Little Yu. Tang Yu, hey! Are you talking to me? I'm not dreaming, am I? I really do see you again. She rushed forward to hug Tong Yu as she spoke, only to find that she had forgotten that she was only a spirit body at the moment. Get away from me. We're strangers now. You are you, and I am me. Tong Yu stepped aside and spoke in an indifferent voice. Little Yu, listen to me. I wasn't going to tell you this, but... The girl wanted to explain herself, but she was too excited to say anything else. Let me tell you for you, little girl. Tang Wulin made his way over to her before snapping his fingers again. A series of images appeared. These were all memories from the perspective of the girl. My name is Tang Rui. Who cares what her name is? Sam Shao didn't give her a name anyway. I've liked a boy ever since I was a child. He was very naive, and he followed me around every day. He protected me, carried things for me, and gave me all the delicious food. I was quickly moved by his naivety, and he was the first boy that had ever entered my heart. The first time I fell in love with him was after he awakened his martial soul. At that time, I discovered that his martial soul was a dog, and it was very down-to-earth compared to my cat. At the time, many children laughed at him and said that his martial soul was a dog, and he was also a dog. All he did was follow his master around. At the time I was very angry. What right did they have to scold him? Their martial souls, do you think they have? Some of them were even using rags and napkins. He could only wipe his snot. So, in order to not let him lose the information, I put on a very proud face and told him that I can only marry a great hero in the future. A hero like Spirit Ice Dolua Hoi Yuhao. Tang Wulin. What the F***ck? My words worked. He began to spend all his time training hard. He was really hard-working. Sometimes, I would secretly follow him and realize that he was really suffering. Sometimes, he would even faint. At that time, my heart would ache. There were a few times when I wanted to rush up to him. However, when I saw him suddenly open his eyes after fainting and continue to train, I was really attracted to him. So what if people laugh at you? So what if your innate soul power is only at the second rank? Hero Lingbing Dolo Hoi Yuhao only had innate soul power of the first rank when he was young, but he became the hero who saved the entire continent. He became the most powerful being of that era. I've always believed in you. One day, you'll use your actions to prove that innate soul power isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is whether you've worked hard or not. The hero in my heart should be like this. Meanwhile, Tong Yu and the spectators were already stunned speechless. Tong Yu turned to Tang Rui with a stunned expression. She loves me? She's always loved me? Tang Rui lowered her head in a shy manner. The scene changed again. Before I knew it, we had already grown up. I was the campus belle of the academy, and I felt like I was worthy of him. I often saw him, and he worked very hard to get into the same academy as me. However, just as I was about to confess to him, a large group of tall and handsome boys would surround me and invite me to go home with them. There were also many of them who handed me letters, and I didn't even have to read them to know that they were all mushy love letters. I had a lot of disdain for these boys who were only interested in my looks, but so what if there were so many of them? Anyway, he must be behind me, rushing forward to protect me. When I turned around to look for the little boy in my heart, I realized that he was far, far away from me. He didn't even look at me. Why? Why did he have to stay so far away from me? Why? When I was young, you would always step forward to protect me whenever other boys approached me. Why did you have to stay so far away from me? Could it be that you don't like me anymore? How could you? How could you? Bastard. I hate you. A few days later, I discovered that the boys who often came to bother me stopped coming, and I immediately thought that it must be him. At that time, I was very happy, but I was still angry with him, so I decided to punish him. So I pretended to be angry and scolded him, driving away all my friends. At that time, he told me that he only wanted to protect me. At that time, I was very happy, because at least he still had me in his heart. However, the good times didn't last long. Once, on the way home from school, after Xiao Yu and I parted ways, a tall and handsome boy suddenly came in front of me and pulled me to a deserted alley. He confessed to me, but I didn't like him at all, so I was about to reject him. However, he suddenly told me that if I didn't agree to be his girlfriend, he would hurt the people close to me, my parents, and him. I finally remembered this person. His father was a member of Pagoda, and his grandfather was also a member. Moreover, he seemed to be very powerful. He was a person with a very high status. This guy was a hedonistic disciple. What should I do? If I didn't agree, he would hurt my parents and him. No, I couldn't let him hurt my parents and him. In the end, I could only choose to compromise and agree to be his girlfriend. However, I didn't expect that he would forcefully kiss me on the spot. In fact, if I hadn't released my martial soul in the end, he would have. I was so angry that my whole body trembled, and I even wanted to kill him. He actually molested me. However, he said indifferently, if I give this photo to that dog who has been following me since school, I wonder what he will think? I trembled. I knew that he had something on me. What should I do? What should I do? When he saw this, Tong Yu's eyes were filled with shock, followed by a burst of anger. Tang Rui, who was standing to the side, had a sad expression. She wanted to cry, but she was in spirit form, so what could she cry? Scum. That guy is a scum. Everyone started to curse. Tang Wulin didn't frown. Why is it Pagoda again? When did Pagoda allow scum to join? That day was the beginning of all the tragedies. I was molested, I was dirty, I was no longer worthy of him. I cried. From that day onwards, I started to distance myself from Xiao Yu because I was dirty and no longer worthy of him. Moreover, that good-for-nothing disciple of mine was always by my side. He was like a spy who followed me and Xiao Yu at all times. He even secretly threatened me to hold his hand and be intimate with him. I had no choice but to do so. I saw Xiao Yu's sad eyes, sad tears, and one day, I was walking on the street with that scum, and I hadn't seen Xiao Yu for a long time. It was as if he was heartbroken to see me being so intimate with that scum. I'm sorry, Xiao Yu, I really. Right at that moment, an old lady appeared in front of me. I immediately recognized her. She was Xiao Yu's mother. When she saw me holding hands with that scum, she told me to tell Xiao Yu if I wasn't interested in him, but please don't hurt him. At that time, I really wanted to tell her that it wasn't like that and that I was. However, that scum seemed to have seen through my thoughts and communicated with me using his mental power. He told me to insult Tong Yu in front of her and call him my dog. Otherwise, he would attack Tong Yu's mother. That scum's eyes seemed to be looking at a certain place with disdain. That place was where Tong Yu was hiding. At that time, I really wanted to cry. That scum wasn't human at all. In order to protect Xiao Yu's mother, I had no choice but to harden my heart and call Xiao Yu my lackey, my dog. I couldn't wait to get him far away from me. After that, that scum arrogantly left with me in his arms. Before I left, I saw the sad expression on Xiao Yu's mother's face. The next day, I heard bad news. Xiao Yu had taken poison and committed suicide. At that time, I was in shock. Could it be that Xiao Yu had been following me the whole time yesterday? Did he hear everything I said? No. No. Yes, it was me who killed Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu. It was me who killed him. That was the saddest time I had ever cried. But not long after, Xiao Yu came looking for me. But he had changed into an ugly monster. At that time I was shocked. But when I found out that he was Xiao Yu, I was very excited. Xiao Yu was still alive. He wasn't dead. Then, Xiao Yu asked me if I had ever liked him. At that time, I really wanted to tell him that I liked him. But I remembered that my body was dirty and I was no longer worthy of him. Moreover, that scum's subordinates were nearby watching over this place. I couldn't let Xiao Yu be in danger. So, I could only try my best to make myself very proud and tell him that I had never liked him. When I saw him, I felt disgusted. When I said that, I felt as if I could see his heart breaking. My heart ached, but in order to protect him, I had no choice but to do it. In the end, he left listlessly. But after he left, I weakly knelt on the ground. He's gone. He's gone. This might be the last time we see each other. What did I say? Before I knew it, a long time had passed. I hadn't seen Xiao Yu for a long time. But, that scum actually drugged me and did those things to me. I thought about killing myself, but he told me that he would harm my parents and Xiao Yu. So, I could only live like a zombie. But, one day, I found out that I was pregnant. ************************************************************** Tong Yu was so jealous that he wanted to kill someone. If that scum wasn't dead and Tang Rui wasn't holding him back, he would have gone berserk and killed all 18 generations of his ancestors. Meanwhile, the audience was already gnashing their teeth. They didn't know how to scold this scum anymore. He was simply an animal. No. Calling him an animal was an insult to the word animal. They really didn't know how to scold this ****** anymore. Tang Wulin and the others were gnashing their teeth. How could such a **** exist in this world? Even Nci Dai Tianling and the others had furious expressions on their faces. Tang Wulin furrowed his brows. Haha. It looks like Pagoda is really quite naughty now. It's over. The Xianra Empire's pagoda has been targeted by our Yuhao. Everyone, hurry up and prepare a pile of urns. In the end, I gave birth to that child. This child belongs to that *****. She had even wanted to abort the child, but she found that she couldn't do it. Because if he found out, he definitely wouldn't let my parents and Xiao Yu off. Furthermore, it's all that *****'s fault, not this child's. This child is innocent. In the end, I still chose to give birth to him and named him Tang Ziren. Tang Wulin was unable to close his jaw. This is my child, not that *****'s surname. However, I suddenly realized that after I gave birth to this child, that ***** rarely came to my place. In the end, I received news of his death, and it seemed to have been a sudden death. At that time, I was both sad and happy. I was happy because that **** was finally dead, but sad because the heavens only took his life now. Why didn't they do it earlier? Why? I could only silently take care of my child. However, that ****'s family came to find me and said that they would take responsibility for that ****'s crimes. I angrily chased them away, but in the end, they still left behind a few sentries in the vicinity. Heh, are they observing me like I'm an animal? Are they afraid that I'll abandon this child? I could only pretend that I didn't know anything and continue to live my own life. I wanted to raise this child and teach him to be a kind person, not someone worse than a beast. However, one day, Tong Yu's mother came to find me. She asked me about Xiao Yu's whereabouts, but I always told her that I didn't know. No matter what I said, she refused to leave. I even noticed that the sentries in the vicinity were about to make a move. No, I can't let them make a move. In the end, I could only make a move against Xiao Yu's mother myself. I really had no choice but to do this. My heart seemed to have been shattered long ago. Xiao Yu's mother was only an ordinary person, so she couldn't withstand a single blow from me. I broke her leg. The sentries finally appeared and directly dragged Xiao Yu's mother away, wanting to leave her corpse in the wilderness. I hurriedly begged them to send her back. They could only do as I said. In private, I would often sneak out to take care of Xiao Yu's mother. I discovered that after I broke her leg, his mother had lost her sight. At that time, I blamed myself. In order to take care of her, I could only sneak out every few days to take care of Xiao Yu's mother. Xiao Yu's mother also asked me who I was, but I couldn't tell her my identity. I could only give her a random name to fool her. Then, one day, just as I was about to sneak out to take care of Xiao Yu's mother, I ran into Xiao Yu, whom I hadn't seen for many years. I was very excited, but I suddenly remembered the sentries in the vicinity. I immediately wanted to chase them away, but Xiao Yu suddenly angrily asked me why I was attacking his mother. At that time, I really wanted to tell him the truth, but that would expose the fact that I was sneaking out every day. At that time, those sentries would definitely not let me and Xiao Yu off. I could only coldly say, "So your mother isn't dead yet? I thought that she had died a long time ago. She was like a clingy dog, just like you." But then, what shocked me was that Xiao Yu actually burst out with the power of Super Dolu. He didn't do anything to my child, but he broke my legs. At that time, my heart felt like it was being broken by his punches. I was so sad, but I couldn't tell him the truth. He asked me if I regretted it. I said no. He asked me again if I regretted it. I said no. He asked me again if I regretted it. I said, never. However, he didn't understand the meaning behind my words. What I wanted to say was, I've never regretted loving you. You are the man I love the most. I don't regret dying in your hands. In the end, he beat me until I was on the verge of death. In the end, he left in a daze. He didn't do anything to my child. Before he did anything to me, he had already left my child outside. He let my child go. He left, leaving me behind just like that. However, I am very happy. My lover is a transcendent Dolu. He has become a transcendent Dolu. This is great. He has finally become a powerful being. I fell to the ground and looked at his receding figure, and I fell into boundless memories. When I was young, I had once fantasized that the man of my dreams was an extremely powerful being, and that he would one day come to take me with 9 soul rings around his body. I guessed that the man of my dreams really was an extremely powerful being. However, I guessed the future correctly, but I didn't know that this was the reality. I don't regret dying in your hands. It's just that I won't be able to accompany you anymore, Xiao Yu. The image then faded into pitch-black darkness. Everyone present had fallen into a state of grief, and Tong Yu was completely rooted to the spot, unable to say anything. So that was what had happened. He had understood half of the story, but he hadn't understood the other half of the truth. Why? Why did you tell me? Why? Tong Yu, the Kirin Doluo, was sobbing like a little child. He looked at the illusionary Tang Rui in front of him with a grief-stricken expression. He reached out to touch Tang Rui's face, but his hand passed right through her. Only then did he recall that she was currently a spiritual body. I didn't want you to worry. Also, I was afraid that you would seek revenge from Pagoda. You know that Pagoda is extremely powerful, and I didn't want you to seek revenge from them. You could have died, so I was afraid. Tang Rui's spiritual body spoke in a grief-stricken voice. No. I killed you. It's all my fault. Tong Yu finally knelt down and pounded his palms against the ground as he yelled in agony. No, don't do this, Xiao Yu. This isn't your fault. Tang Rui's spiritual body also knelt down to console Tong Yu. No. I was too cowardly in the past and didn't dare to stand in front of you. It's all my fault. 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 Tong Yu burst into tears. It's all right now. Tang Rui's spiritual body consoled him. Only then did he feel a lot better. However, Tong Yu suddenly discovered that Tang Rui's spiritual body was a lot more illusionary than before. Rui, what happened to you? Tong Yu asked with a horrified expression. Tang Wulin strode over to Tong Yu before patting his shoulder and said, Time's up, kid. It's time for you to say goodbye to her. What? Tong Yu faltered upon hearing this. Kid, I borrowed her spiritual body from the ruler of the underworld, so I have to return it to her. Tang Wulin said. Tong Yu suddenly knelt down toward Tang Wulin upon hearing this. Tang Wulin faltered slightly upon hearing this. What are you trying to do? Tang Wulin asked. Please help me, Senior. You were able to resurrect me, so you must be able to resurrect Rui as well. Please help me, Senior. I'll repay you even if I have to do anything for you. Tong Yu kowtowed 3 times toward Tang Wulin. Tong Yu's actions completely moved everyone. Just how much did he love Rui? To think that he was willing to give up his dignity as a limit Doloa in exchange for a godlike child. Are you sure she really is a child? Tang Wulin appraised the kneeling Tong Yu in an indifferent manner, and he was just about to say something when a series of pleading voices rang out around him. Senior, please help Kirin Doloa. All of the spectators, including high-grade soul masters such as Grace and Dai Tianling, also knelt down toward Tong Yu. Over at Shrek's side, Xiesun and the others also knelt down toward Tong Yu. All of them were completely moved, and they were definitely going to beg Tong Yu to resurrect Rui. However, Tang Wulin was the only one who didn't kneel down. However, spiritual communication. Big brother, big sister, uncle, brother-in-law, please help him. He's so pitiful. Stop, stop, stop. Don't make it sound so mushy. I'll help you just this once, alright? Yay. Thank you, brother-in-law. Please help me, Senior. Tong Yu kowtowed again. Senior, if you help Kirin Doloa, then I'll announce that our Xianra Empire admits defeat in the battle between the 5 gods. Dai Tianling suddenly said. Tang Wulin appraised Kirin Doloa with an indifferent expression. Get up. If you're a man, then get up. No. I won't get up. If you don't help me, then I won't get up. Tong Yu was very stubborn. Tang Wulin's brows furrowed. If you don't get up, then I won't save her. Huh? I'll get up, I'll get up. Tong Yu hurriedly got up. Tang Rui, who was standing by the side, was also overjoyed. It appeared that she could be together with him again. Sigh. I really don't want to see her. She definitely won't let me go like last time. Tang Wulin shook his head. You, come with me to the infernal realm. He then turned to Tang Rui. Tang Rui nodded. Tang Wulin then turned to Tong Yu. I'll help you, kid. However, there's something else that you can consider. Please speak, Senior. Tong Yu replied with an earnest expression. Kid, how about becoming my disciple? Tang Wulin asked with a faint smile. Tong Yu was rooted to the spot. Say yes. Tong Yu, say yes. Grace suddenly yelled at Tong Yu. But I already have you, teacher. How can I become the disciple of someone else? Tong Yu was still in a daze. Silly kid. Even I want to become the disciple of that senior. Grace said with a wry smile. Tong Yu wasn't the only one who was stunned. All of the spectators and Dai Tianling were also dumbstruck. The state teacher of the Xianra Empire wanted to become the disciple of a child? Kid, I'm not the type of person who accepts disciples for no reason. I have high hopes for you, so think about it. Give me an answer when I come back. Now then. Tang Wulin made a grabbing motion as he spoke, and to his surprise, he caught the two black and white impermanences who had fled upon seeing him. The two of them were still yelling with their eyes closed, "Run, run, run! Don't let that master catch up to us!" What was even more astonishing to everyone present was that both of their auras were more powerful than quasi-gods. It was as if they were gods. Little White, why do I feel like I can't run at all? The black-haired girl in black with her eyes closed asked in confusion. Me too. What the hell are you doing? The two of them were greeted by the sight of Tang Wuling, who was appraising them with a smile. Ah! It's that master! Lead the way to the infernal realm, Tang Wulin said in an indifferent voice. But master. Master Hades has already issued an order forbidding you from entering the infernal realm, the black and white impermanences said in trembling voices. They really did not dare to make him angry. She's throwing a tantrum with me. If I go there myself, I don't believe she won't let me in. Tang Wulin said. In that case, please follow us, master. The black and white impermanences opened a dark tunnel. Let's go. Tang Wulin took the illusory Tang Rui and followed the black and white impermanences into the tunnel. However, Tang Wulin suddenly stopped and looked at Dai Tianling. Hey! Tianling, since the last battle between the five gods, my brother will be participating in the Tangmen battle this time. I won't be participating, it's not interesting at all. Also, don't expose the video of me participating, or you'll suffer. Tang Wulin finished speaking and walked into the tunnel. The tunnel disappeared. A group of stunned people was left behind. Tang Wulin was stunned. What was this? Brother-in-law just pushed him to the edge of the storm? How could it be like this? Cough cough. Then, I now announce that the winner of the first battle between the five gods is Senior Tang Wulin. However, due to Senior Tang Wulin's own request, in the second battle between the five gods, please invite Tang Menju onto the stage. Dai Tianling could only agree to Tang Wulin's words and start a new battle between the five gods. Tang Wulin could only smile bitterly and go onto the stage. It just so happens that after I passed the first test of Poseidon, I don't know how strong I am now. I can see how strong I am now. A new battle between the five gods begins. The first round mecha battle. Once again, let's welcome the pillar of the empire, Huang Xingyang, and the leader of the Tangmen, Tang Wulin. In the netherworld, in the majestic palace, it was desolate. There was no one. A tunnel suddenly appeared, and the black and white impermanences, Tang Wulin, and the illusory Tang Rui walked out. Sir, we're here. The black and white impermanences said in a trembling voice. Thank you. You can go now, Tang Wulin said. Yes. The black and white impermanences said and disappeared. They run pretty fast. Tang Wulin said casually. Senior. Tang Rui hid behind him, trembling. It seemed to be very cold here. It's okay. This is the Hall of the Dead, of course it's cold. The person in charge of life and death is here. Wait for me here. Also, don't leave this circle. As soon as Tang Wulin finished speaking, a circle of golden light suddenly appeared under Tang Rui's feet. She instantly felt very warm. She's not in the Hall of the Dead, then. There's a high chance that she's there. Tang Wulin instantly disappeared again. Tang Rui could only obediently stay put. Carefree cliff, carefree pavilion. Hades sat there silently, admiring the scenery of Carefree Cliff. Only by coming here can I calm down, she said indifferently. She took out a piece of paper, and on it was written the number 5211314. 5,211,314 favors. When have you ever returned them to me? Hades muttered to herself. A chilly wind blew her long black hair. I knew you were here. Tang Wulin's voice suddenly sounded. Hades jumped in fright and hurriedly put away the paper. When she looked behind her and saw the figure, she was instantly delighted. However, she still maintained a cold expression. Why are you here? The underworld does not welcome you. Please leave, she said coldly. You can't chase me away, Tang Wulin said calmly. Hades was silent for a moment, then sighed and said, Speak, what do you want? Help me revive someone, Tang Wulin said. Don't you think you can do it yourself? Anyway, as long as she hasn't been dead for too long, you can revive her. Why are you looking for me? Hades said coldly. She's been dead for more than 10 years. Tang Wulin said. That's a natural death. She can't be revived, Hades said. She was killed, Tang Wulin said. And let me see. According to the underworld law, if a person has a long lifespan but is killed halfway, then they can enter the gate of reincarnation and be reborn. This is written clearly. She should be reincarnated, Hades said. I can't wait that long. Tang Wulin said. Can't wait, can't wait, can't wait. What else can you say? Hades suddenly said angrily. Tang Wulin faltered slightly upon hearing this. Never did he think that Hades would suddenly fly into a rage. I can't wait that long. Guess, how long have I waited for you to return the favor? Guess. Hades roared angrily. Tang Wulin was silent. I've already forgotten. Anyway, it's been a long time. Every time you appear, I'm excited, thinking that you're here to return the favor. However, every time you appear, you say that you want to revive a person, revive a person, revive a person. Not once did you say that I'm here to return the favor. Ugh. Hades began to sob in the end. Tang Wulin listened quietly. After hesitating for a moment, he slowly walked over and pulled her. Before Hades could react, she fell into his arms. Imagine a scene where a girl who looked like she was only 20 years old was being held in the arms of a 16-year-old boy who was only 1.6 meters tall. It was really indescribable. Hades wanted to struggle free, but just as she was about to do so, she found that she didn't want to move at all. Instead, she leaned against Tang Wulin's shoulder in a quiet voice. You bastard! Maybe it's useless to say sorry. Tang Wulin said. It's okay, you don't have to apologize. I've helped you. Isn't it just reviving a person? It's simple. But you have to accompany me for a whole day. Hades said softly. But 1 day in the underworld is 5 days on the ground. It's fake, don't believe it. This is just a plot requirement. Tang Wulin said. I don't care. I helped you revive a person. Will you die if you accompany me for a day? Hades showed an angry expression. However, in Tang Wulin's eyes, she was just a little girl who wanted to act coquettishly for him. Tang Wulin was speechless. It seemed that he really owed her too much. Fortunately, she still doesn't know that I'm a girl. I really don't know what she will do if she finds out. Imprisonment, tying up, and playing with me are all small things. He understood her. She hated girls who were prettier than her. Once she met them, she would use very cruel means to treat them. Thinking back to the first time he met her, she treated him as a girl and then used those cruel means to treat him. Fortunately, he was very strong at that time, or else he would have really died. Chapter 100. After last night's revelry, many of the Tangmen disciples were still in deep slumber, so the headquarters was very quiet. When Tang Wulin came to the cafeteria for breakfast, there weren't many people there. However, everyone who saw him had expressions of respect and reverence on their faces. After breakfast, the smiling Doloa came to find him, and a heartfelt smile appeared on his face at the sight of the energetic Tang Wulin. Sect Master, I've already contacted the Empire. Let's go over and complete the transaction today. It'll be the safest and most confidential way to do it in the Imperial Palace. The Imperial Palace has set aside a warehouse for us to guard in the future. All right. Thank you for your hard work, Tang Wulin said with a smile. I can finally breathe a sigh of relief after completing my mission. During this period of time, make sure to keep our Tangmen as low profile as possible. Otherwise, our relationship with the imperial family will be affected because of the 5 gods. Hu Jie laughed heartily. I understand. Since we've already gotten what we want, let's not pretend to be innocent. Don't worry, Sect Master. I'll be sure to take care of this matter. Tang Wulin's heart stirred slightly upon hearing this. This was the first time that the smiling Doluo had referred to himself as a subordinate. It appeared that the trial of 5 gods wasn't just about the outside world, it was also about his own people. They arrived at the Xianra Empire's imperial palace again. On this occasion, Emperor Dai Tianling and Crown Prince Dai Yuan of the Xianra Empire were already waiting for him in the largest conference room in the imperial palace. Dai Yuan was clearly looking at Tang Wulin in a different light now. When Dai Yuan first met him, he couldn't wait to challenge him in order to verify the results of his cultivation over the years. However, the second time they met, he no longer had the confidence to challenge him. Perhaps in this era, regardless of who he was, he could only serve as a foil to this man. Your Majesty, Your Highness, Tang Wulin greeted with a nod. Dai Tianling didn't seem to be displeased in the slightest, and he smiled as he said, Congratulations, Tang Menju, on securing victory in the trial of 5 gods. The Empire will also fulfill its previous promise and purchase the goods at a premium of 10%. We've already gone through the list. There's no problem. We have already begun to mobilize the resources needed by the Tangmen. They will be delivered to the designated warehouse of the Tangmen within 3 days. Thank you for your support, Your Majesty, Tang Wulin said sincerely. Dai Tianling sighed and said, To be honest, I regret it. However, I don't regret it. At the very least, during this trial of 5 gods, we were able to see the future of the Tangmen, and we were even more determined to cooperate with the Tangmen. I hope that we can continue to cooperate for thousands of years. The Tang Menju must also support Xingluo more in the future. No matter what happens with the Federation, Xingluo will always be the home of Tangmen. Your Majesty, you're too serious. It's our honor. Tang Wulin smiled and nodded. Dai Tianling asked, What's the Tang Menju's plan after this? Tang Wulin replied, I'll most likely return to the Federation as soon as possible. As you know, the Tangmen are currently under a lot of pressure from the Federation. I have to go back and share this burden with my Tangmen friends. Dai Tianling sighed. To be honest, I really do hope that all of the Tangmen can migrate to Xingluo. In that case, Xingluo really will have a chance to oppose the Federation in the future. Tang Wulin said apologetically, I'm very grateful for Your Majesty's acknowledgement of the Tangmen, but the Tangmen's roots lie in the Doluo continent. Our ancestors, including the Thousand Hand Doluo and the Lingbing Doluo, built and maintained the Tangmen on the Doluo continent. As the younger generation, we can't change the legacy left by our ancestors. Of course, the Tangmen of the Xianra Empire are also a very important part of the headquarters. What we hope for the most is to see the 3 continents coexist peacefully. Dai Tianling nodded. Thank you for your support, Tang Menju. I'm very sorry that you've been neglecting me this time. Tonight, there will be a banquet in the palace to entertain all of our former friends. Please do come. Thank you, Your Majesty. Oh right. Tang Menju, do you have any news about your brother? Why hasn't Vice Leader Tang returned yet? Did he receive my invitation? Dai Tianling suddenly asked. Your Majesty, you're asking the wrong person. My brother's whereabouts are uncertain, and I'm not sure. However, I saw Qilin Doluo with the recently revived Tang Rui. I think my brother should have returned and received Your Majesty's invitation, but I'm not sure if he'll come. That depends on my brother's mood, Tang Wulin said. Is that so? Dai Tianling was a little disappointed. Originally, as the emperor of a country, it would be extremely disrespectful if the invited person did not attend the banquet. However, Dai Tianling did not feel that Tang Wulin's absence was disrespectful to him. Instead, he felt very disappointed that Tang Wulin did not come. It seemed that the banquet was not grand enough. During the banquet, everyone drank happily and chatted. Of course, there was one person who was unhappy. Dai Yuner, because she could not find Tang Wulin. It was time to go back. Tang Wulin and the others stood up. They were a little tipsy from the wine. As they walked out of the palace, the cool night breeze brushed against their faces. It was indescribably comfortable. A faint smile appeared on Tang Wulin's face. He looked at the starry sky and his eyes shone like stars. The Tongmen's exclusive vehicles had already driven over. Tang Wulin and Hu Jie got into one car, and their companions got into the other two. 3 extended Tangmen Soul vehicles slowly drove out of the palace and headed in the direction of the Tangmen headquarters. Tang Wulin's car was at the front. After passing an intersection, the signal light changed, forcing the 2 cars behind to stop. As the first car, Tang Wulin's car naturally drove over and pulled away from the 2 cars behind. Just when the first car was more than 300 meters away from the 2 cars behind, the car suddenly shook violently. A violent roar sounded without warning. Rumble! A ball of red light enveloped the car in front almost instantly. The violent explosion mixed with the red ball of light soared into the sky. A large area of the surrounding buildings collapsed in the violent explosion. The terrifying shockwave almost shattered the glass of all the houses within a radius of hundreds of meters. For a moment, this roar seemed to have woken up the entire city, and an ear-piercing alarm sounded. The sky had turned gray at some point, reflecting the red light. The gray spread and covered the ground. All the sounds seemed to have disappeared under the gray cover. Come out, are you prepared? So what? Halosa said indifferently. 2 figures flashed out from behind Hu Jie and appeared in midair at the same time. On the left was the Tongmen's sect master, Tang Wulin. On the right was the holy dragon Doloa Grace, who was dressed in a chauffeur's outfit. At this moment, her silver hair was revealed. When she saw Halosa, Grace was even more shocked than Hu Jie. Even on the Xingluo continent, she had long heard of the underworld Dolua's prestige. This person's terrifying destructive power and murderous ability would bring about a calamity no matter where he went. Tang Wulin frowned. He felt that this person in front of him was even stronger than Grace. It seems like he's an evil soul master. It seems like Gu Yuna was right. Those big shots have already set their eyes on me. However, do they still dare to make a move on me when they know of my brother-in-law's existence? Are they not afraid? They don't even know your brother-in-law's true identity. Those who don't know are innocent. Very good, you're all together. This saves me the trouble of looking for you one by one. My target this time should have been you. Halosa looked at Grace with a hint of disdain in his eyes. Grace frowned. She knew what kind of strong person Halosa was. It was very likely that he was a strong person of that realm. However, I received news at the last minute that my new target has changed. It has become you, sect master of the Tangmen. Halosa then looked at Tang Wulin. It seems that the people of the Holy Ghost religion have already noticed me. Tang Wulin thought to himself. You want to touch the Tangmenju? No way. Let me see how strong the underworld King Doluo, who has been famous for 100 years, is. Grace took a step forward in the air, and a huge white dragon instantly appeared behind her. Specks of light reflected and condensed into an armor in the air. Halosa snorted disdainfully, with just you. As he spoke, he waved the long sword in his hand lightly, and a sparkling and translucent gray sword light drifted out. It didn't seem to have a trace of smoke or fire as it flew straight towards Grace's chest. Tang Wulin was only spectating from the sidelines, but he could clearly sense that as soon as this sword light appeared, a peculiar type of chill instantly invaded his body. This wasn't true low temperature. Instead, it was a bone-chilling sensation that originated from his very bones, and he felt as if his entire soul were about to be frozen solid. Divine light erupted from Grace's eyes, and a series of massive white dragons abruptly rose up into the air. This was none other than his holy dragon domain, Thousand Dragons Dance. Each and every one of the massive white dragons was shimmering with extremely rich holy light, and an extremely rich holy aura instantly suppressed the surrounding gray color significantly. The smiling Dolua didn't attack. Instead, he shielded Tang Wulin and retreated to the side before withdrawing his martial soul true body. Only then did Tang Wulin notice that the smiling Dolua's face was rather pale, indicating that he had sustained internal injuries. "Are you all right?" Tang Wulin hurriedly asked. Hu Jie's brows furrowed tightly as he said in a grim voice, "He's so powerful. His power seems to have been elevated to another level, and it's not something that any of the extreme Dolua I've encountered before possess. I didn't think that a limit Dolua could reach such a level. In a one-on-one battle, I most likely wouldn't be able to last more than 10 minutes against him." Tang Wulin drew a sharp breath upon hearing this. One had to realize that as a rank 98 Super Dolua, Hu Jie had virtually reached the pinnacle of power below the extreme Dolua level. The light in the air suddenly dimmed, and Grace let loose a muffled groan as his body swayed in midair. However, Hades Dolua Harosa remained completely still, and a mocking look appeared on his face. The gray world around them began to churn like boiling water, and a series of massive skeletons slowly emerged. It was impossible to tell what kind of creatures these skeletons belonged to. Some of them were in the form of dragons, some of them were in the form of other animals, and there were also some that appeared to be marine creatures. These massive infernal creatures instantly proliferated through the air, attacking the oncoming white dragons in a frenzy. Light was supposed to be the bane of darkness, but the infernal energy emanating from the bodies of these infernal creatures wasn't fearful of the power of light in the slightest. Instead, it surged toward the 1,000 flying dragons like a tidal wave, multiplying its numbers by 10 to 100 times. This was a domain suppression. The infernal rebirth domain was most likely one of Hades Dolua Harosa's soul skills, but it was able to suppress the Holy Dragon Dolua Grace's forward battle armor domain. Grace swept her right hand through the air, and the air around her began to tremor slightly. Immediately thereafter, a terrifying aura instantly proliferated through the air, and it was as if the entire space were about to collapse as it surged toward Dolua. "Do you still not understand?" Halosa asked in an indifferent voice. He took a small step forward, and his entire body instantly became translucent and translucent. The compressed space naturally crumbled before him, and all of the gray light in the surrounding area abruptly rose into the air. The white holy radiant dragons within the 1,000 flying dragons began to howl with anguish, and it was as if their illusionary bodies really did possess flesh and blood. They were being torn apart by the infernal creatures in a frenzy, and all of them were already on the brink of death. Grace's expression changed drastically upon hearing this. You really have already reached that level." Halosa replied in an indifferent voice, "If I hadn't reached that level, why would I have joined the Holy Ghost religion? They're just a bunch of ants. I'm just trying to get rid of the false and retain the true. 50 years ago, I already transcended the level of accumulation through slaughter." "Well said." Grace took a deep breath before taking a meaningful glance at Halosa. "If you want, you can also join us. According to my knowledge, we're the closest to reaching that level. We've even attempted to do so once, and even though we failed, we've accumulated a lot of experience. In the future, it's very likely that we'll be able to break through that final barrier," Halosa said in an indifferent voice. There's no need for that. I don't care about that method of yours." Grace curled her lips in disdain. He couldn't wallow in the mire with these guys. Moreover, that lord was on this continent. He must have discovered this guy, and might even be on his way here right now. Halosa's expression was a little strange as he said, "You're quite observant. Cultivating to godhood is something that defies the heavens. One day we'll break through the suppression of this plane. Get out of the way. After all, you've also reached this level, and I don't want to kill you. My target is him." As he spoke, he cast his gaze in Tang Wulin's direction. His gaze was calm and serene. With just a glance, Tang Wulin felt as if his soul was being sucked away. Tang Wulin was almost completely certain that among all the powerhouses he had ever met, this person was probably the most powerful powerhouse apart from his brother-in-law, second brother Supreme Treasure, and his father. A series of golden halos rose up from beneath his feet, and his eyes instantly became extremely dazzling. In this gray world, the golden halos were particularly eye-catching, and they gave the onlookers a sense of dazzling radiance. Halosa let out a cry of surprise. He was very clear about his own underworld rebirth domain. Within the domain of underworld rebirth, all objects and life forms would be infected and corroded by the underworld qi. Hu Jie, who was at the level of Super Doluo, was currently covered by a layer of gray air. Even when he used his golden belly, there was a layer of gray on the surface of his golden belly. It was the same for Grace. However, when the rings of golden light appeared on Tang Wulin's body, he clearly saw that it was a brilliant gold that was not tainted by any gray. In the next instant, he saw a ring of light under Tang Wulin's feet. It was a golden ring of light. Roar! An impassioned dragon's roar sounded. In front of Tang Wulin, a huge golden dragon's shadow appeared, and it roared into the sky. Suddenly, all the dispirited and suppressed thousand dragons' dance seemed to have their blood ignited. A layer of golden light covered the bodies of all the holy radiant dragons, and it forced the underworld qi that had invaded their bodies to retreat. The aura of every white dragon rose crazily. They shook their heads and wagged their tails, and their dragon claws were sharp. They brazenly attacked the surrounding underworld creatures. Sensing this, Grace looked at Tang Wulin in surprise. At this moment, he felt as if his holy dragon domain had been injected with a shot of cardiac stimulant. Even his own aura was affected, and it instantly skyrocketed. This was not a quantitative increase, but a kind of increase that was close to a percentage. In an instant, the holy dragon Doluo's aura surged. When fighting against him, Tang Wulin's Golden Dragon King bloodline could suppress his bloodline power and his martial soul. However, when fighting side by side, the Golden Dragon King's aura was the best amplification for all dragon-type martial souls. When Tang Wulin had just awakened the Golden Dragon King bloodline, he had already discovered this when he was with his companions. At that time, his companions who had the Bone Dragon martial soul had greatly increased their strength under his amplification. At this moment, his Golden Dragon King bloodline amplified the strength of a powerhouse like Grace. The effect was naturally extremely powerful. The holy aura of the holy radiant dragon broke through the shackles and finally bloomed completely. What was even more strange was that all the dragon-type underworld creatures in the underworld rebirth domain had become weak at this moment. Interesting. No wonder they said that they must kill you. Little guy, you're worthy of being Shrek's chosen one. In my life, I hated the Shrek Academy the most. If it weren't for that old guy Doluo, I would have reached my current level at least 50 years earlier. However, the only one I admire the most is the Shrek Academy. In this world, only Shrek is worthy of being my opponent. There are too many brainless people in the sect. They actually used such methods to destroy Shrek. What a pity. Shrek should have been completely slaughtered by my hands to accumulate my strength for my advancement. If it weren't for the fact that I still have too many things to take care of, I really want to wait for you to grow up before killing you. That would be more interesting. Tang Wulin said loudly, "What's the point of talking back? Do it. If you want to kill me, then come. Hades Dolororosa smiled faintly. Do you think that you can stop me from killing you with just this strength? Little guy, there are at least 8,000 proud so-called geniuses like you who have died at my hand. When I learned how to kill, your ancestor wasn't even born yet. Not far away, Yuhao, note that it's Yuhao, not Tang Wulin, walked over and shook his head in disdain. You're quite arrogant, little guy. When his father and I were reigning supreme 20,000 years ago, evil soul masters were still normal soul masters. Not to mention your ancestor, even your ancestor's ancestor wasn't born yet. After hearing him insult his ancestor, Tang Wulin's eyebrows suddenly twitched. At this moment, a strange scene occurred. A golden trident rune suddenly appeared on Tang Wulin's forehead. Following that, Tang Wulin's eyes turned a strange bluish-gold color. Dolua groaned and suddenly took a few steps back. His eyes were dazed. In the underworld rebirth domain, more than a third of the underworld creatures instantly collapsed. Backlash from the Godhead? This ultimate Dolua, who had been dominating the entire battlefield ever since he had appeared, suddenly raised his voice in a sharp manner. At the same time, the way he looked at Tang Wulin changed drastically. When he first appeared, Tang Wulin was just an ant in his eyes. He didn't take him seriously at all. But at this moment, while his eyes were filled with shock, a terrifying murderous intent appeared. Grace was also shocked. Backlash from the Godhead, what did it mean? It meant that among the ancestors of Tang Wulin that Holosa had just insulted, there was once a god. Grace immediately understood. No wonder that senior had been protecting him. It turned out that he was a descendant of God. Moreover, that God should have a very good relationship with that senior. Otherwise, why would that senior take care of him so carefully? Thinking of this, he really couldn't believe that he was competing with the child of God. Really, after a brief moment of murderous intent, Hades Dolororosa's eyes suddenly became fanatical. He said with a greedy face, "Backlash from the Godhead, kid, you're a descendant of God. You must have the secret to becoming a god. As long as you torture me and get the secret of becoming a god, I can get rid of the false and become a true god." Tang Wulin curled his lips. Just as he was about to say something, he was stunned. Because, get rid of the false and become a true god? Kid, can you do it? Even if you're a plain blessed, if you want to become a god, you have to go through the heavenly tribulation. You're just afraid of the heavenly tribulation. A mocking laughter suddenly came from behind Holosa. When this voice appeared, Holosa's expression changed greatly for the first time. He even showed a look of fear. Who was he? The number of quasi-gods on the continent of Dolua could be counted with one hand. Who else could silently appear behind him and evade his perception without being discovered? More importantly, that voice dared to call him a kid. He turned around and saw a young man with long gray hair. The young man's face was extremely beautiful. His long hair fluttered, and his gray robe moved without wind. He squinted his eyes and maintained a faint smile. If the demon emperor saw me, he would have run away long ago. Unlike you, kid, you still dare to stay in front of me? The gray-haired young man said. Who are you? Holosa's voice became very shaky. The gray-haired young man didn't answer. He looked at Tang Wulin and the others. You guys go quickly and don't look back. Tang Wulin and the others nodded and then left with Grace and the others without looking back. Playing necromancy in front of me? You're just showing off in front of an expert. Just a kid who got life and death and discarded useless inheritance, and you think you're Hades? Rebirth of the underworld. He looked around at the undead creatures behind Holosa. You think you're rebirth of the underworld with a mere necromancy summoning? Although your talent is not bad, it's just not bad. You got his abandoned inheritance, and you used it so poorly? If life and death knew, they would have taken the inheritance away. I've seen many arrogant kids like you. They even dared to be presumptuous in front of me. Guess what happened to them in the end? The gray-haired young man squinted his eyes and smiled. Halosa's body trembled violently, and his heart was filled with fear. Fear? He actually felt fear? How was that possible? Since he was young, he was the only one who made others feel fear. No one could make him feel fear. However, when he saw this young man today, he realized that this young man was the representative of fear. It was as if this young man was the real Grim Reaper. Haha. Look at how scared you are. It's okay, I'm very kind. Really, I'm not lying to you. The gray-haired young man said with a faint smile. Of course. He opened his squinted eyes, revealing pupils that were filled with the aura of death. My kindness is limited to my family and friends. As for my enemies, I'm sorry, but they can go to hell. Alright, before you die, I'll tell you one more thing. I've already killed those ants of the Holy Ghost religion that followed you. Now, you're the only member of the Holy Ghost religion left in the Xingluo continent. You're a god? Ha 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 ha. That's right, you must be a god. Only a god can be so strong. It turns out that the high and mighty gods like to bully the weak. Where's your dignity as a god? How dare you bully a mortal like me? You should know the rules of the divine realm, right? Halosa said sarcastically. He thought that if he said that, this person who might be a god would probably let him go. After all, he knew some of the secrets of the divine realm. For example, gods could not easily interfere in the affairs of the lower realms, nor could they attack mortals. He probably would not dare to break the rules of the divine realm. If he did, the divine realm's enforcers would arrest him. Are you sure they dare? Let's not talk about the fact that they're no longer here. Even if they were, they wouldn't dare. They have to address themselves as juniors in front of him. Don't you know that he was the one who created the divine realm? Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Little brat, what do you think I am? Do you think I'm one of those good citizens of the divine realm who follows the laws of the divine realm? Ha 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 ha. Stupid. The gray-haired young man laughed heartily, then said to Halosa in disdain. I'm not one of those rotten people of the divine realm. I'm a free god. No one from the divine realm has the right to control me. The gray-haired young man said indifferently. Halosa wanted to die. He had originally thought that this person who seemed to be a god would spare him on account of the god realm's law enforcers and the god realm's big shot. But now, this person actually directly said that he was a free god and that no one in the god realm had the right to control him. It's over, it's really over now, and no. I can't die like this. Senior, I wonder if you dare to make a bet with me? Halosa could only say sadly. Oh? A bet? What kind of bet? The gray-haired young man asked. Senior, if you let me go, I'll have a fair competition with you when I become a god. At that time, if you can defeat me, I won't say a word if you want to kill me. Halosa said. The gray-haired young man was stunned for a moment, then he laughed heartily. Ha 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 ha. I haven't heard this in a long time. Ha 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 ha. Little brat, this isn't the first time I've heard this. I've met many talented little brats who were arrogant and showed off in front of me. In the end, after angering me, they realized that I was an existence they couldn't afford to offend. Then, they told me what's so great about having a high cultivation level? If we were at the same level as you, we wouldn't be afraid of you. Ah, little brat, they said exactly the same thing you said. Guess what happened to them in the end? Halosa was shocked. It's over, it seems like I'm really done for today. Want to live? Sure, take a punch from me. If you don't die, scram. The gray-haired young man said indifferently. Wait. Before Harosha could even finish his sentence, the gray-haired young man had already sent a fist flying at him. Harosha had no chance to dodge at all. With a loud boom, he was sent flying 1,000 meters away, crashing into numerous trees and dying on the spot. What? Trash, you're far inferior to those brats who dared to show off in front of me. The gray-haired young man waved his hand, but in the next moment, a strange light was emitted from Halosa's body. Ah! You actually don't want him to die? Realm Will, do you know what you're doing? The gray-haired girl suddenly said. Sir, please don't kill him. He is a tool that I am using to punish humans. The greed of humans has destroyed my will of nature. The forest, the ocean, and the spirit beasts are all my children, and so are humans. They should have helped each other like brothers and sisters, but humans have overexploited their resources, causing their brothers and sisters to suffer irreparable wounds. Therefore, this is the evil karma of humans. Sir, please don't interfere in this matter. Humans must be punished. The illusory voice was pleading as it echoed in the ears of the gray-haired youth. The gray-haired young man was silent for a moment. You better not mess it up. If you mess it up, you know the consequences, the gray-haired young man said indifferently. Thank you, my lord, the illusory voice said with gratitude. The light on Halosa's body dissipated. Halosa, who was supposed to be dead, suddenly woke up. Strange, didn't I die? That's right. I remember now. I remember that I did die in the end, but the realms didn't want me to die so quickly. Then, the realms will use the power of the realm to save me. At this moment, the gray-haired young man suddenly appeared in front of him. Harosha shuddered upon hearing this. This senior was a powerful being who could take his life with a casual punch. Scram! I'll accept your bet. I'll wait for you to become a god and challenge me, the gray-haired young man said indifferently. This. Halosa was stunned. This senior was actually going to let me go? Thank you, senior, Halosa said with a trembling voice. Hurry up and scram. If not for the realms pleading for you, you would have died 1,000,000 times over, the gray-haired young man said impatiently. Yes, that, senior, I still have something to ask. Senior, your name. The gray-haired young man glanced at Halosa. Do you think you have the right to know? Halosa trembled and gritted his teeth. Senior, please tell me. The gray-haired young man pursed his lips. This brat was quite bold. I'll only say it once. My name is Yuhao. After saying that, the gray-haired young man suddenly disappeared in front of Halosa, leaving behind a dumbfounded Halosa. Yuhao? Lingbing Dolua? That powerhouse who represented an era 10,000 years ago. The Lingbing Dolua god of emotions, Yuhao, who was feared by all the abyssal creatures of the abyssal plane. He wanted to bang his head against a wall. Oh my god! I want to die. I actually offended this powerhouse. Chapter 101. Tang Wulin walked out of the room in a daze. He felt a little weak in his kidneys. It would be strange if he didn't feel weak in his kidneys. After all, he was a dragon. What happened last night, was it true? It's not a dream. I can't believe that Guyuna and I, after an unknown amount of time, Guyuna finally got up from Tang Wulin's body. However, she was still sitting on him. Guyu, is it you this time? Tang Wulin stared blankly at Guyuna, who was on top of him. This was because Na-Air's silver eyes had turned into Guyu's purple eyes. Guyuna nodded. Suddenly, a 9-colored light covered the two of them, and they disappeared. Tang Wulin was led to the shore by Guyuna, and the two of them sat down on the beach to enjoy the view of the rising sun. Guyuna pinched Tang Wulin and said in a lecturing tone, "You used too much strength just now. It hurt me." Tang Wulin smiled helplessly. "What can I do? I'm in despair too. How would I know that I would be drugged? Wait. I want to drink it too. Oh no. I see. I understand now. It's Dai Yuner. She actually wants to have sex with me like this?" At the end of his sentence, his expression became extremely strange. It's over. She still doesn't know that I'm a girl now. Don't worry. She'll be fine. Not to mention that it's not poison, even the god's sorrow, which is said to be able to kill gods, is just a supplement for her cultivation. That little medicinal wine won't have any effect on her, Gu Yuna said with a smile. Gu Yu, why do I feel that you and my brother have known each other for a long time? Tang Wulin asked the question in his heart. Gu Yuna fell silent. She looked at Tang Wulin with a complicated expression. She didn't say anything. Gu Yu. Tang Wulin was stunned. He had never seen such an expression on Gu Yu's face. Ha, you're right. I've known him for a long time. A long, long time ago, Gu Yuna muttered as she looked at the sunrise. If I hadn't met Wulin, I might still be in love with him. A long, long time ago. Tang Wulin was stunned. He knew his brother's true identity. The great hero Lingbing Doluo from 10,000 years ago, Yuhao. There was also Doluo Tang Yu, who was regarded as his younger brother by his father 20,000 years ago and had always helped his parents. His entire life experience was like a puzzle. And now, Gu Yuna actually said that she already knew his brother-in-law or uncle. If that was the case, then Gu Yuna could also be a god? And she could have been a god a long time ago. More importantly, she knew his brother/uncle. Gu Yu, I'm getting more and more curious about your identity now, Tang Wulin said. It's best if you don't know. It won't do you any good, Gu Yuna said. Haha. It's okay. I'll know one day anyway, because you're my woman now. Your first kiss is mine, and your first time is also mine. Ha 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 ha. Tang Wulin laughed as he lay on the beach with his head in his hands. Gu Yuna laughed lightly. Tang Wulin suddenly felt a little sleepy. Then, he closed his eyes and fell asleep. Gu Yuna looked at him silently. Then, she smiled and said, Silly, my first time is indeed yours, but my first kiss isn't yours. My first kiss. She looked at the sunrise. A long, long time ago it had been his, and when Tang Wulin woke up the next day, he found that it had already returned to his room. Everything was like a dream. End of memory. Tang Wulin rubbed his eyes and walked towards the hall. At this time, Dai Yunar walked past him with a happy face. Morning, third brother. Dai Yunar greeted Tang Wulin. Morning, your highness. Tang Wulin answered in a daze. A few seconds later, he suddenly woke up and hurriedly called out to Dai Yunar. Wait, your highness, what did you call me just now? Third brother? What's wrong? Dai Yunar said with a smile. When did I become your third brother? Tang Wulin said in a daze. Also, did you put drugs in the wine last night? Dai Yunar had an expression of admitting her mistake. I'm sorry. Third brother, it's my fault. I've already apologized to my sister. Sister? Tang Wulin was stunned. The female version of Tang Wulin suddenly appeared behind Tang Wulin and said faintly, I've taken her as my adopted sister, what's wrong? Ah! Tang Wulin was startled by the sudden sound of Tang Wulin's faint voice. He turned around and saw Tang Wulin. This, I say, sister. Can you not suddenly appear behind other people? This will scare people into having a heart attack. Tang Wulin patted his little heart and said with a lingering fear. Sister. Dai Yunar rushed towards Tang Wulin with a smile and hugged her. Tang Wulin touched her head helplessly. This brother-in-law, what's going on? Tang Wulin hurriedly communicated with him telepathically. The following is all telepathic communication. It's just the two of you. She did drug me, but that drug didn't work on me. Then, she didn't do anything out of line in the end. Then, the next day, I showed her my female body and my true identity. However, other than being shocked, she became even more clingy. She said that she wanted me to take her as my disciple, and that she wanted to be my sister. I had no choice but to take her as my sister for the time being. In a sense, she's now your sister. Tang Wulin was speechless. The princess became his sister? Did you have a good time last night? Tang Wulin narrowed his eyes and smiled as he communicated with him through telepathic communication. Brother-in-law, you know everything? Tang Wulin blushed awkwardly. Gu Yu's barrier can only block people who are weaker than her from probing. I'm much stronger than her. You should thank Dai Yuner. If she didn't drug you, you wouldn't have had sex with Gu Yu until now. You even got promoted to the titled Dolua. Yun is a godly assistant. You should thank her. Tang Wulin narrowed his eyes and said with a black-bellied face, Brother-in-law, you bad person. Tang Wulin ran away with a red face. Ah! Tang Wulin laughed. Sister, why are you laughing? Why did third brother suddenly run away with a red face? Dai Yuner asked with a puzzled face. It's nothing, you. By a freak combination of factors, I helped a young couple. Tang Wulin said with a faint smile. Dai Yuner was stunned. Also, we're leaving soon. Tang Wulin said. Sister, can't you stay with me for a few days? Dai Yuner was reluctant to leave. No. Do you remember what I taught you? Tang Wulin looked at Dai Yuner. I've already memorized it. Dai Yuner nodded. Very good. When you get promoted to the titled Dolua, the thing I placed in your spiritual world will begin to test you. Don't disappoint me. You are a junior that I have high hopes for. Tang Wulin said and left. Dai Yuner clenched her fist. I won't disappoint you, ancestor. Everyone gathered at the beach. Xingluo's civil and military officials, Dai Tianling, and Grace were all gathered here. Dai Tianling saw that the male version of Tang Wulin was also present. His face was filled with joy. However, he noticed that Tang Wulin was looking at him from time to time. You little brat, how can you control your daughter? You want me to have sex with your daughter? Your wishful thinking is ruined. Little brat, don't do it again. Otherwise, you'll suffer. Tang Wulin's voice rang in his mind. He was so shocked that he almost fell. Today, we welcome the best brothers of the Xianra Empire, the members of the Tang men, Grace said solemnly. Welcome the Tang men. Welcome the Tang men. All the civil and military officials said loudly. Everyone was shocked. Grace walked in front of Tang Wulin and Tang Wulin. Tang Menju, Vice Sect Leader Tang, and all the members of the Tang men, please be careful on your way back. I wish you a safe journey. Thank you for sending us off, State Preceptor. Please return. Tang Wulin said. Don't be in a hurry to return, Tang Wulin suddenly said. Not far away, a large group of Federation battleships are attacking. What? Everyone was shocked. Brother, is that true? They're here so soon? Tang Wulin was shocked. Yes. You guys wait here for a while. Also, don't make any preparations. They're leaving soon. Wulin, come with me. Tang Wulin said and disappeared with Wulin. High above the sea. Wulin, that lightning-devouring demonic vine emperor should be with you, right? Tang Wulin turned to Tang Wulin. Brother-in-law, you're talking about the infernal lightning vine, right? But why do you call it the lightning-devouring demonic vine emperor? Tang Wulin was perplexed. That's its true name. Who would have thought that the last sapling of the lightning-devouring demonic vine emperor, which should have existed in the cultivation world, would actually appear on the Dolua continent? It seems it's because I threw it out that time. Tang Wulin spoke in a language that Tang Wulin didn't understand. In any case, you'll choose that as your 9th soul ring. Tang Wulin said. Tang Wulin was stunned. Now, go to the bottom of the sea to fuse with the lightning-devouring demonic vine emperor and break through to the titled Dolua continent. Quickly, take out the Poseidon trident and make a big commotion. Tang Wulin said and pushed Tang Wulin into the sea. Wah! Gurgle gurgle. Tang Wulin sank. You're finally going to be titled Dolua continent. 22 years old, hee hee. You're even older than your father. Although I wasn't. Tang Wulin crossed his arms and nodded. A 17-year-old limit Dolua continent, a 19-year-old first-tier god. What more do you want? Tang Wulin slowly descended until she was only 5 meters away from the seawater. She cast her gaze into the distance, and discovered that a series of giant steel ships were slowly sailing forward, leaving a trail of white water behind them. There were more than 100 large and medium-sized ships, and they were divided into 3 motherships in a triangular formation. The 3 motherships were enormous, and there were advanced Soul fighter jets docked on them. Around each mothership there were more than 4 battleships. Beside the giant mothership in the lead, there were as many as 8 battleships. That's the Poseidon fleet, right? Chen Xinjie's Poseidon fleet. Tang Wulin smiled faintly, and her disguise disappeared, revealing the appearance of a young girl. An icy blue throne suddenly appeared behind her, and she slowly sat on it. She crossed her legs, and her queen-like nature erupted. She waited for the arrival of the motherships, but she suddenly felt bored, so she took out a few bait, just raw fish, and threw them into the sea. Not long after, a few great white demon sharks swam over and began to fight for the food. On the main ship of the Poseidon, Chen Xinjie looked at the map in his hand. According to the current speed, they should be arriving at the Xianra Empire soon. The war was about to begin. He suddenly remembered the words of that person, "You have to stand on the right side. Is it really right for me to do this?" Chen Xinjie murmured. Boom. Boom. The mother ship suddenly began to shake. What's going on? Chen Xinjie hurriedly stood up. He spoke into the walkie-talkie above his ear. "Reporting, Captain. The frontline battleships have been intercepted. We have clashed with the interceptors." A voice mixed with the noise came over. "What? Interceptors? Damn it. The Xianra Empire already knew about our plan? You're ready so quickly? Is there a traitor?" Chen Xinjie was shocked. He paused and continued to ask, "How many interceptors are there? How many battleships are there?" Reporting, Captain. No battleships at all. There's only one person." A frightened voice came from the walkie-talkie. "What?" Chen Xinjie was shocked. "Bzzzt, bzzzt, bzzzt." After that, a noise came from the earpiece. "Hey, can you hear me? Answer me. Hurry up and answer me." Chen Xinjie anxiously covered the walkie-talkie and shouted. Then, a voice finally came from the earpiece. Chen Xinjie was happy that he had finally made contact. However, in the next moment, he heard a familiar voice that sounded like it came from hell. Cough cough. "Hello? Hello? Moses? Can you hear me?" Cough. "Okay, as long as you can hear me. Is that Chen Xinjie? Chen Xinjie? If you're here, please answer me." A young girl's voice sounded like the sound of nature in Chen Xinjie's ears. However, this beautiful voice in Chen Xinjie's ears was like falling into hell. It's me. I'm here," Chen Xinjie said with a trembling voice. Chen Xinjie's performance shocked everyone around him. Who was Chen Xinjie? He was one of the few extreme Dolua in the Federation. And now, Chen Xinjie was calling himself a junior? Who was this person? "Oh, so you're here. Then why didn't you answer me just now? I thought it was those brats from the Eagle faction who didn't dare to answer me." The young girl's voice came from the other side again. "Say, Senior, why are you here?" Chen Xinjie said with a trembling voice. "Me? I'm here feeding the fish. I was doing fine, but some stupid battleships scared my fish away." The young girl's angry voice came from the other side of the walkie-talkie. "Then, I taught those guys who operated the battleships a lesson and dismantled their battleship." "How is that a lesson?" "But after dismantling half of them, I realized that those battleships were actually your Poseidon battleship. So, I snatched a walkie-talkie and came to talk to you about my fish being scared away." Chen Xinjie's heart skipped a beat. Feeding the fish in the sea? Perhaps only this lady would dare to do such a thing. One had to know that there were many unknown areas in the sea, and there were countless powerful soul beasts. However, this senior was openly feeding the fish in the sea, and those powerful and mysterious soul beasts didn't dare to come out and cause trouble for her. It was obvious that they were afraid of this lady. Say, lady, are my subordinates all right? Chen Xinjie asked with a trembling voice. To be honest, he didn't have much hope. Oh, your subordinates. They're fine, I only dismantled their battleship. They're having fun with my fish in the sea. There's even blood. They're having so much fun? Hee. The young girl's laughter rang in his ears. Chen Xinjie's body trembled slightly. His body was already stiff, and he didn't dare to move. He didn't dare to use his spiritual power to check. He knew what the consequences would be. Captain, hurry up and give the order. The frontline battleships need our help. A senior colonel said to Chen Xinjie. Everyone, stay put. Violators, take care. Chen Xinjie connected to the other battleships and said with a trembling voice. Fear was clearly written all over his face. Everyone couldn't believe it. Chen Xinjie, who wasn't even afraid of the old guys from the Federation, actually showed fear. Who was the other party? Hee. Exhilarating brat, you're very perceptive. At least you're not stupid. You're much smarter than those brats from the Eagle faction. The young girl's voice suddenly rang throughout the entire battleship. Voice transmission from 1,000 miles away? Everyone was shocked. What kind of powerful rookie possessed such a miraculous skill? Wait a minute. Most importantly, the other party actually called their captain Exhilarating brat? Oh my god. Who was the other party? Alright, I'll tell you one more thing. I've taken over this area. I'm sorry, but you can't access this sea. Go back. Also, don't think that I don't know about those brats hiding in the dark on your battleship. The young girl's voice suddenly stopped. Then, there was complete silence. Immediately afterward, 4 figures appeared in front of Chen Xinjie. They were all wearing navy uniforms with 1-star epaulets on their shoulders. They were all war gods from the war shrine. Temple Master? They looked at the trembling Chen Xinjie. In their hearts, their idol, the Temple Master of the war shrine, Hanhai Doru Chen Xinjie, was a quasi-god stage master. Even now, he still hadn't recovered from his fear. Temple Master, who was that person? Icy Doluo asked. Shut up. That's not something you can ask. You don't have the right to ask about that person's name. Chen Xinjie suddenly said to them angrily. This. The 4 war gods looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. That person? It was no wonder that they were shocked. After all, they didn't participate in the uproar in the Federation. They knew very little about Tang Wulin. However, they all knew one thing. The protagonist of the uproar in the Federation was later called that person by everyone. It was a sign that everyone recognized him. Not many people knew his true identity and appearance. Only the participants of that event knew. However, the participants of that event were all high-ranking officials of the Federation, as well as Super Doluo and Limit Doluo. Why weren't there any titled Doluo? No, there were a few. However, all of the titled Doluo died in that event. Only the Transcendent Doluo and Ultimate Doluo managed to survive. It had been a few years since that event. That person didn't appear often anymore. Many people even thought that he was dead. Who would have thought that he would appear again today? Then, Temple Master, what should we do? The 4 war gods looked at Chen Xinjie. Chen Xinjie took a deep breath. Everyone, go back the way you came. Are we not going to care about the members who fell into the sea? If you have the guts, then go yourself. This, I said, retreat. Yes, sir. Chapter 102. Within the Shrek Sanctuary. All of the higher-ups of the Shrek Sanctuary were gathered in a conference hall. Light and Dark Doluo, Long Night Moon, Heavenly Ice Doluo, Wu Zhongkong, eldest disciple brother Lan Muzi, and eldest disciple sister Tang Yinmeng. Tang Yinmeng was holding a little boy in her arms. This was clearly her and Lan Muzi's son. Shrek's 6 monsters were also present, as well as Yari, who was holding her daughter. All of them seemed to be waiting for someone. In the next instant, an inky black rift appeared before their eyes, and Tang Wulin emerged from within. Everyone faltered slightly upon seeing this. When had Tang Wulin learned this technique? However, they immediately understood what was going on. Tang Wulin followed closely behind Tang Wulin. "Welcome back, Senior," everyone said in a respectful manner toward Tang Wulin. "There's no need to salute me. How many times do I have to say this? There's no need to salute me when you see me in the future. Just treat me as an equal," Tang Wulin said. "No, Senior, we don't have that right," Long Night Moon said. "Sigh. Let's not waste any more time. I heard from Wulin that you want to rebuild the Shrek Sanctuary?" Tang Wulin asked. Everyone nodded in response. "Heh. In that case, you'll be opposing the entire Federation. There's no way that the Pagoda Sanctuary and the Holy Ghost religion will allow Shrek to rebuild, and there are other major powers as well. This is going to be a battle against the entire world. However, I like it." A smile appeared on Tang Wulin's face. "Does that mean you're also planning to intervene, Senior?" Long Night Moon asked in an elated manner. "How can I not intervene? After all, this is the place that raised me in the past." Tang Wulin replied with a faint smile. "Monkey, you guys can come out as well," Tang Wulin suddenly said. Everyone was shocked. Was there anyone else? In the next second, everyone saw two figures suddenly appear behind Tang Wulin. One of them was a handsome young man with blonde hair. He was wearing a chainmail, and his long blonde hair was draped over his back. With a golden rod hanging behind his neck, the young man's first impression was that he came from ancient times. Beside him stood a black-haired young woman. She was extremely beautiful, even more so than Yali. She wore a set of purple robes, and she was holding a purplish-green sword in her scabbard. Don't ask me what colors purple and green are. If you want to know, please tell me what blue, gold, green, and chaos colors are first. Let me introduce myself. This is Supreme Treasure. His title is Heaven's Equal Dolu. His cultivation is temporarily suppressed to the level of a quasi-god. His martial soul is the Rui Jingu Bang. Zixia. Her title is Purple and Green Dolu. Her cultivation is also temporarily suppressed to the level of a quasi-god. Her martial soul is the Purple and Green Sword, Tang Wulin said with a faint smile. "Hello." Supreme Treasure and Zixia greeted them. This, temporarily suppressed to the level of a quasi-god? Everyone noticed one thing. That's right. Temporarily suppressed. Their true strength is that of a god. Supreme Treasure has 9 rings and a 10th ring, so he's a half-step god-emperor. Zixia has 8 rings, so she's a paramount god, Tang Wulin said calmly. But because of Bro Dance Spirit's request, we had to do this. We owe him a big favor. Supreme Treasure held Zixia's hand. Zixia gripped Supreme Treasure's hand tightly. They're the helpers I brought here. They're only responsible for beating people up, not construction, Tang Wulin said. Don't worry. As long as we're here, no matter who comes looking for trouble, Old Sun will teach them a lesson. Supreme Treasure said indifferently. I'll let them know how terrifying the two of us are. Zixia waved the purple and green sword in her hand. At the Spirit Pagoda headquarters. What? They're all dead? East Wind through the ages was shocked. The Contra kneeling in front of him said with a trembling voice, It's true. The Tower Master, Elder Hiroshi, that titled Doluo, and everyone else died in an instant. They didn't even know how they did it. I was the only one who came back alive. It was that terrifying person who told me to bring back a message. He said to tell the Tower Master to be careful. If you dare to stop us, then bring it on. Bastard! East Wind through the ages crushed his own cup. His eyes were wide open, and green vines covered his forehead. The Contra was trembling in fear. You can leave first. He held his forehead and said, Yes. The Contra hurriedly left. East Wind through the ages pinched his forehead. Then, he took out a soul communicator from a secret compartment under the table and pressed a long string of numbers. What's the matter? Why are you calling at this time? A hoarse voice came from the other side. Have you heard that Shrek is going to rebuild? East Wind through the ages said. Heard? The whole continent knows about it now. That voice is extremely terrifying. It actually spread across the entire continent of Dolua. Now, many people from the major powers have their eyes on the spirit ice Poseidon Lake. Of course, I also sent the 3 heavenly kings there to gather information. The voice on the other side said, We've really underestimated Shrek. It seems that Shrek has an extremely powerful person overseeing it. Who was the one who said that Shrek was destroyed and couldn't be rebuilt? Who was the one who said that Shrek would become history? East Wind through the ages said mockingly. What do you mean by that? East Wind through the ages, we helped you blow up Shrek, and you're still acting like you're in the right? Don't forget that you also had a foot in it, the voice said angrily. Don't forget that you guys said that you would always look after Yunming's soul, but what happened? You guys told me that Yunming's soul was stolen. How do you explain that to me? East Wind through the ages said angrily. Over in Tangmen, it seems that there's also a powerful person who took action. He defeated the 3 heavenly kings of Dolua and stole Yunming's soul. However, even if that person has Yunming's soul, he can't revive him. I guarantee that screen can't be revived. You should know how powerful my 9 ghosts soul-chasing nail is. It was because of it that I was able to kill Yunming. If it wasn't for the Dark Phoenix's insistence that the power I left in his soul didn't explode, his soul would have been destroyed long ago. It's impossible for him to be revived. Even a god doesn't have that ability. You're just the trashiest god out there. Any first-tier god would be able to save Yunming. I'll wait for you to be slapped in the face. East Wind through the ages gradually calmed down. I'll personally investigate Shrek's situation. Get ready. I want you guys to destroy the rebuilt Shrek Academy at all costs. No matter how many people are still alive, kill them all. Leave no one alive. We can't let Shrek rise again. They can't do that. Haha. Why should I listen to you? Ghost Emperor said indifferently. You don't forget our agreement. East Wind through the ages said fiercely. Agreement? What about the war? What about the war? What happened to the millions of souls that were promised? Where are they? You guys from Pagoda can't even deal with the Tongmen's new leader, Tang Wulin. You caused that plan to go bankrupt and delayed our plan greatly. You still have the face to talk to me about an agreement? East Wind through the ages said, Was I willing to do that? Who would have thought that the Tangmen would do something like that? But now they've become a treasonous organization. Soon, I'll definitely push the council to start the war again. This time, the commander of the army is Hanhai Doru. We can't control him either. Next time, I'll try to use generals that we can directly control. Ghost Emperor, you have to understand that if Shrek rises again, it won't be good for you guys either. Do you want to see them rise again? I don't want to either. But we don't know Shrek's current strength. Moreover, Shrek and the Tangmen are allies. Chao Deji and Zhang Xian are still alive. They'll definitely support Shrek's reconstruction. Ghost Emperor said solemnly. East Wind through the ages' eyes flashed with murderous intent. Hasn't the drug been successfully developed? Would he be able to ask the Demon Emperor to help him and finish the job in one fell swoop? Once we get rid of Shrek and the Tongmen's higher-ups, no one will be able to stop us. A mere Demon Emperor doesn't have the strength to do that. He'll just be sending himself to death. Ghost Emperor said, I need to think about it. Wait for my news. Go and investigate Shrek's situation as soon as possible. My 3 subordinates will do their best to cooperate with you and delay their reconstruction as much as possible. Okay. No matter what, we can't let Shrek's reconstruction succeed. East Wind Through the Ages said solemnly. After the call with Ghost Emperor ended, East Wind Through the Ages leaned back in his chair. He was really tired. He stood up and shouted respectfully, "Her Grace." Whoosh! The ice blue throne first appeared in front of him, and then Tang Yuling appeared on it. "If you have something to say, say it quickly." "Your Majesty, I'm sure you heard that voice as well, right?" Qingu Dongfeng asked in a respectful manner. "I heard it. Do you want to ask me what kind of god it is?" Anyway, it's not a human," Tang Yuling said calmly. Not a human?" East Wind Through the Ages was shocked. "If it's not a human, could it be a soul beast? Or could it be a god?" East Wind Through the Ages said in shock. "You're not that stupid," Tang Yuling said with a smile. East Wind Through the Ages didn't expect that Shrek would have a god overseeing it. Fortunately, they also had a god here, Her Grace. Although he didn't know how strong she was, seeing that she didn't care about the voice, she probably didn't care about the owner of the voice. "Idiot, that's her. And then? You called me out because of this?" Tang Yuling's voice became cold. "No. Actually, I have something to discuss with you," East Wind Through the Ages said with a trembling voice. "What is it?" "The matchmaking convention. Her Grace, you should know that my grandson is dating your second sister, Gu Yuna." Before East Wind Through the Ages could finish, Tang Yuling's angry voice sounded. "Shut up!" Tang Yuling's aura exploded, suppressing East Wind Through the Ages so that he couldn't move. I wouldn't dare. This is what I'm thinking. If we hold a matchmaking convention for your second sister, Gu Yuna, maybe that person will come too," East Wind Through the Ages said with a trembling voice. "Humph. What a foolish and ignorant junior. You think this way. Wait, if we add." Tang Yuling thought for a while, then a mischievous smile appeared on her face. That'll be interesting." "Her Grace, what's interesting?" East Wind Through the Ages asked with a trembling voice. "Kid, in a few days you will announce to the public that Pagoda is going to hold a matchmaking convention. Yes, tell them that my second sister, Gu Yuna, my third sister, Byakuya, and I, Tang Yuling, will be holding a matchmaking convention. We will publicly choose our Mr. Right." "Ha ha 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 ha." Tang Yuling laughed like a child, then disappeared without a trace along with her throne. Every transport vehicle carried 30 tons of resources, including all kinds of basic resources and auxiliary soul tools. According to the Shrek Academy's plan, they would first rebuild 3 teaching buildings. Then, with this as the center, they would gradually expand along the lakeside of the Poseidon Lake. Some of the original Shrek Academy's functional areas would be gradually developed. In terms of financial resources, Shrek Academy had the support of the Tangmen, so there wouldn't be any problems for the time being. At the same time, Shrek's sanctuary also had some of his accumulated wealth. This wealth wasn't just money, but more importantly, some ancient books and secret manuals. These were the most valuable things in Shrek Academy. It was the foundation. The first thing that Mo Land's craftsmen had to do was to drive the piles. They had maps in their hands and wore anti-radiation suit. They began to drive the piles according to the map. Every 30 meters, a metal pile would be driven down, then connected with barbed wire to form a barrier that isolated the outside world. With 300 people working together, it was very fast. Just like that, they surrounded the periphery of the Poseidon Lake and continued to work. This isolation was undoubtedly very simple, but there was one advantage to it, and that was that it declared sovereignty. "Stop, all of you stop. Who gave you permission to build things here? What are you doing?" More than 10 police cars arrived at the construction site amidst the ear-piercing sirens. A group of soldiers jumped down from the cars. They all had soul ray guns in their hands and stopped the workers who were in the middle of construction. The man with the insignia of a captain at the front said coldly, "Who's in charge here?" Who gave you permission to? But before he could finish, he saw a golden light flash toward him. In the blink of an eye, the captain's head was gone. The headless corpse fell to the ground, blood spurting out. A golden-haired youth suddenly appeared in front of them. He twirled the golden staff in his hand and slung it over his shoulder. "Scram!" the golden-haired youth said calmly. The remaining soldiers were shocked. They didn't think that someone would attack without saying anything. You actually killed a captain. You wait. The military won't let you go." A staff sergeant pointed at the golden-haired youth and said viciously. He led the soldiers into the car and left. "Old son will wait here. Let's see who you can send. Anyway, it won't be as grand as 10 million celestial soldiers." Supreme Treasure leaned against the Jingu Bang on the ground. "It'll be strange if it's as grand as celestial soldiers." Zixia walked up to Supreme Treasure. "They're all mortals after all." "That's true," Supreme Treasure said. "Back then, I fought against 10 million celestial soldiers alone for you, but it's a pity that in the end you still—" Zixia immediately covered Supreme Treasure's mouth and leaned into his embrace. "It's all in the past. Don't mention it again. I don't want to recall those unpleasant memories." "I know, my dear wife," Supreme Treasure said with a smile. "You are annoying. I haven't agreed to marry you yet." Zixia hammered Supreme Treasure's chest. "And we haven't met your parents yet." "My brother has already agreed," Supreme Treasure said. "But my sister didn't agree." Zixia smiled mischievously. Hearing Zixia mention her sister, Supreme Treasure suddenly trembled and shrank his head. "Why do you have to mention Qing Xia?" Supreme Treasure mumbled. "I don't care. Anyway, if you want to marry me, you have to go through my sister first," Zixia said mischievously. "Then let's talk about it at night." "I haven't seen your sister in a long time," Supreme Treasure said with nostalgia. Zixia smiled. Then, she thought to herself, "Sister, this is all I can help you with. I'm feeding myself dog food." An hour later, "Woola woola woola," the ear-piercing siren sounded again. More than 10 cars arrived. This time, a lieutenant colonel, a senior colonel, and a lieutenant general alighted from the cars. The lieutenant general was leading the group. He looked to be in his 30s and had a dignified look on his face. Moreover, his aura was very intimidating. One look and one could tell that he was a super dolo. The lieutenant general saw Supreme Treasure and Zixia being lovey-dovey. The moment he saw Zixia's appearance, he felt a ripple in his heart. "What a beautiful girl! No. I'm here on official business." He shook his head at the slave. He walked towards Supreme Treasure and the rest. "Are you the ones who attacked our military? Men, hand them over to me." Swoosh! There was the sound of a sword being unsheathed. Then, Zixia slowly sheathed the indigo sword that she had unsheathed. Then, she snuggled into Supreme Treasure's arms with a blissful expression. "What do you want to eat for dinner?" Supreme Treasure asked. "I haven't eaten the omelette rice you made for me in a long time." "Make me omelette rice tonight," Zixia said softly in his arms. "Okay, I'll make it for you." Supreme Treasure patted her head. "Sir." The senior colonel and lieutenant colonel realized that the lieutenant general had stopped moving. The senior colonel touched the lieutenant general, but the moment he touched him, the lieutenant general's head fell off. Blood pressure shot up. "Ah!" The senior colonel and lieutenant colonel fell to the ground in fright. You, Scram. You're disturbing us." Zun Bao and Zixia God said coldly to the officers in unison. The invisible murderous aura from their bodies instantly scared the crap out of the officers. You, retreat." The senior colonel looked as if he had seen a ghost. He turned around and ran away. On Shrek's side, Xiesun and the rest stared blankly at the fleeing officers. So we don't have to do anything?" "It seems like that's the case." His Majesty Heaven's equal and His Majesty Ziqing are too scary, Yu Zhengyu said in a trembling voice. Meanwhile, in another place. Brother-in-law, is it really okay to kill people from the military like this? Tang Wulin asked Tang Wulin. Looks like those brats from the military and the Federation have all forgotten the lessons of the past. I'm just trying to remind them of the lessons of the past, Tang Wulin said in an indifferent voice after finishing a cup of coffee. Then why didn't you do it yourself? Why did you have to let Big Brother's Supreme Treasure do it? Tang Wulin was confused. They're all small fries, not the brats who know me. I can leave them to Monkey and the rest. Tang Wulin smiled. What if the media reports that Shrek used force? Before Tang Wulin could finish, Tang Wulin smiled. They won't dare to report it. Because I'm the one in charge of the official media now. What? Shouldn't the Federation be the one in charge? Tang Wulin was stunned. They're only in charge of the media without any reputation. Besides, this place is Shrek's territory. Even if it's destroyed, we can't allow anyone to take back Shrek's territory, Tang Wulin said. Tang Wulin didn't say anything. With Supreme Treasure and Zixia in charge, more than half a month had passed. The Federation didn't send any more people to cause trouble. Even the military didn't do anything. It seemed that they had to swallow this loss because they couldn't afford to lose anything. 10 titled battle pet warriors had already died. They had been watching in the dark, but they didn't see how they died. They didn't know how the young man and the girl did it. In the end, they knew what was good for them and left. They didn't dare to send more people. They knew how horrifying it was to kill a titled battle pet warrior Doloa in an instant. They didn't have the guts to come back again. The construction was going smoothly. At the very least, no one came to cause trouble. It was a good start. Furthermore, the Sky Interference Dome had also been constructed, making any probing useless. At the Spirit Pagoda headquarters. I told you, I don't know what kind of powerful warriors those two are. They can't be quasi-god. Even I don't have the strength to kill a titled Doloa in one move, let alone so many titled Dolu. Those two who look like young man and girl must be at the virtual god realm. I didn't expect Shrek to have virtual god realm warriors. Moreover, he was still a young virtual god expert. Because of the interference, we can't see the progress of the Shrek Academy's reconstruction. How are the preparations going? East Wind Through the Ages said to the phone. Needless to say, it was the Ghost Emperor on the other end. His Majesty the Demon King has already awakened, Harosha, and the 3 heavenly kings have also returned. Now we need to focus on something else. It's very important. The Shrek Academy's reconstruction will take some time. Let's put it aside for now. As for the 2 powerful warriors guarding Shrek, don't worry. Once we're done here, we'll be invincible on the continent. Where did he get his confidence from? East Wind Through the Ages was stunned. What's going on? Why are you being so secretive? You don't need to know. This is an internal matter of the Holy Ghost religion. As for Shrek, you just have to think of a way to stall him. If you can get your hands on a 3rd God-Slayer missile, you can blast them again. What do you think a God-Slayer missile is? East Wind Through the Ages frowned. He didn't know why, but he had a bad feeling from the Ghost Emperor's tone. What is the Holy Ghost religion trying to do? Why are they being so secretive? To him, the Holy Ghost religion had always been a double-edged sword. This organization existed in the underworld and could do things he couldn't do openly. But at the same time, as his understanding of the Holy Ghost religion deepened, he felt more and more uncontrollable. If it weren't for that ultimate goal, why would he ask a tiger for its skin? Alright, let's leave it at that for now. Don't worry. As long as we succeed, we'll be able to speed up our progress. Once we succeed, the Shrek Academy is nothing. When that time comes, no one on the entire Doloa planet will be a match for us. The Ghost Emperor's voice seemed to carry a special kind of enticement. East Wind Through the Ages said in a low voice, "All right. But you better hurry. I'll do my best to find out the truth about Shrek's side. You're such a secretive person. There are many things that you should be decisive about. Now that you've taken control of the Parliament, can't you mobilize some military forces?" The Ghost Emperor gloated. "They've already been mobilized. The military sent 9 titled Doloa and a battalion of soldiers over, but guess what happened? None of them came back alive. We've underestimated the 2 mighty figures sitting on Shrek's side. I think they're virtual god realm experts. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to kill 9 titled battle pet warriors and so many others." East Wind Through the Ages said in a trembling voice. There was silence on the other side. Clearly, they didn't expect this either. "Humph. Don't worry. Once our plan succeeds, 2 virtual god realm experts won't be able to do anything to us." "Humph. I'll wait for your good news." East Wind Through the Ages hung up and rubbed his head tiredly. He had been too busy. Young man, you're really stupid." Tang Yuling appeared out of nowhere. She was still sitting on the ice-blue throne. "Her Grace." East Wind Through the Ages stood up in shock when he saw Tang Yuling. "You've been used by others and you didn't realize it until now. Is your brain kicked by a donkey? You idiot!" Tang Yuling mocked East Wind Through the Ages. East Wind Through the Ages trembled. "Her Grace, what do you mean by that?" "Humph. You're really insulting the word idiot when I say that you're stupid. The Holy Ghost religion has been using you all this time. They used you to destroy Shrek and Tangmen. Although they seem to have suffered great losses, they're the ones who benefited the most. Let me guess, those little bastards from the Holy Ghost religion must have used the opportunity to get rid of the false and retain the truth to drag you down with them. Am I right?" Tang Yuling said calmly. Qiangu Dongfeng shuddered upon hearing this, and he was completely at a loss for words, as if he were silently agreeing to Tang Wulin's words. At his level, all of them knew what lay beyond this level, and he really was unable to resist the temptation of dispelling falsehood. That was a chance for eternal life. It was extremely hard for anyone to resist. "Humph. Foolish man. You have no foresight at all. The Holy Ghost religion has found a better partner now. You're no longer useful to them," Tang Yuling said calmly. What? East Wind Through the Ages trembled. "Humph. Forget it. Young man, in a few days, you'll announce to the public that you're looking for a groom," Tang Yuling said and disappeared along with the ice-blue throne. "Farewell, Lady Her Grace," East Wind Through the Ages said respectfully. "On Shrek's side, you said that the Seed of Life needs to absorb life force? So you want to go to the Star Doe Forest to replenish the Seed of Life's life force?" Tang Wulin looked at Tang Wulin and asked. "Yes. That's because that's the only place with rich life force. Also, the Seed of Life told me that there's a life core in the Star Doe Forest. It needs some life force from the Star Doe Forest's life core," Tang Wulin said. "Humph. Wulin, I can't help but admire you. You're the 3rd person who dared to go after the Star Doe Forest's crystal of life," Tang Wulin said with a smile. "Brother-in-law, are you saying that there were people who tried to rob it in the past?" Tang Wulin asked. Hee. That's right, the first person was me. It's just that I wasn't trying to rob it, I was able to absorb it at any time. Those great beasts were on good terms with me, so they didn't say anything. After me, there was an arrogant tortoise in the Star Doe Forest who thought he was invincible and swallowed a small fragment from the life crystal. However, that small fragment almost took that tortoise's life. Now you're the 3rd person. Also, do you think you can beat the current 10 great beasts of the Star Doe Forest? Tang Wulin asked with a faint smile. The current 10 great beasts of the Star Doe Forest? Tang Wulin was astonished. Didn't they say that all terrestrial soul beasts were extinct? That's fake news that Pagoda announced to the public, because there are still many soul beasts living in the depths of the Star Doe forest. Living soul beasts are very precious, so Pagoda kept them as pet. Tang Wulin's eyes suddenly flashed with fury as he spoke. Brother-in-law, calm down. Calm down. Tang Wulin hurriedly calmed Tang Wulin down. Don't worry, I'm fine. Then why did you crush the cup? After a brief moment. Brother-in-law, can you tell me more about the 10 great beasts of the Star Doe forest? Tang Wulin asked curiously. The current 10 great beasts of the Star Doe forest are powerful soul beasts that have existed for a long time. The weakest among them is a great beast that's over 200,000 years old. The current 10 great beasts of the Star Doe forest is first, the Golden Eyes Black Dragon King Dtion. He's the current leader of the Darkness Dragon King of the 9 Great Dragon Kings, and has a cultivation of over 900,000 years. The second Emerald Swan, by Ji, is the only kind soul beast that opposes fighting among the 10 great beasts. She's good at healing, and has a cultivation of about 600,000 years. The third Demon King is a plant-type soul beast, the Demonic Eye Tree. He's one of the best plant-type soul beasts, and has a cultivation of 550,000 years. The fourth Bear Lord is the Dark Golden Terraclaw Bear that you told me about in the past. Although he's ranked 4th, his fighting strength is second only to Dtion. Furthermore, he's only different from Dtion in terms of cultivation. If their cultivations were on the same level, it would be very difficult to determine the victor. He has a cultivation of 500,000 years. The fifth Scarlet King is an extinct soul beast, the 3-headed Scarlet Devil Mastiff. He's very likely the last 3-headed Scarlet Devil Mastiff in the entire continent, and has cultivated for about 300,000 years. The sixth Infernal Demon Dragon King is a member of the Infernal Demon Dragon clan, and has a cultivation of 300,000 years. The seventh Demonic Spirit Beast is an extinct species, and is the last member of the Demonic Spirit clan. He has a cultivation of 250,000 years. The 8th and 9th demons are a group called the Seven Demons. They're 2 Dark Golden Terraclaw Bears, but they're not ordinary Dark Golden Terraclaw Bears. They're strong enough to hurt Dtion if they work together, and have a cultivation of 200,000 years. The 10th Celestial Cat is a rare beast among cat-type soul beasts. Why is it called a rare beast? It's because it has an attack that can ignore any defense. That's why it's called the Army Destroyer. Her cultivation is only 190,000 years. However, her strength is absolutely terrifying. She can directly break through Dtion's defense. Tang Wulin said, as if he was telling a story. So powerful. Tang Wulin said with a trembling voice. Even Xiao Wu, who had seen the world, was trembling. Therefore, I don't recommend you to go to the Star Doe forest. With your current strength, you'll be courting death if you go in. Tang Wulin said, if you're talking about life force, I can provide it. I have an existence here that's stronger than the life core in the Star Doe forest. As soon as Tang Wulin finished speaking, an expressionless little loli with long green hair and a set of white robes appeared beside Tang Wulin. It was quite clear that she had no elemental attribute. The little loli's sudden appearance gave Tang Wulin a fright. Let me introduce you, little Linger Mai. Tang Wulin didn't say anything. Little Linger spoke first. I'm Master's weapon, the Life God Sword. Little Linger's emotionless voice sounded. This weapon? Tang Wulin was stunned. A weapon could take human form? He was shocked. Only then did he discover that the seed of life had begun to tremble. It seemed to be very excited and very fearful. She could make the seed of life excited and fearful? What kind of person was this little loli? Little Linger, transfer some life force to the seed of life, Tang Wulin said. Then, Little Linger wants a reward. Little Linger said calmly to Tang Wulin. All right, we'll talk about it when we get back, Tang Wulin said with a smile. No, little Linger wants it now, little Linger said in an indifferent voice. Tang Wulin was speechless. He heaved a faint sigh before reaching out with a resigned expression and patting little Linger's head. Little Linger closed her eyes, and an expression of enjoyment appeared on her face as a faint smile appeared on her face. Tang Wulin's jaw dropped to the ground. Is this all right? Tang Wulin asked in a resigned manner. Yes. Little Linger nodded in an obedient manner before disappearing in the blink of an eye. She's transferring her life force to the seed of life. Little Linger's life force is the purest life force in the entire universe. That's why the seed of life is both excited and fearful. It needs that pure life force very much, but at the same time, it's also very fearful of it. It's afraid that little Linger will devour it instead, Tang Wulin explained with a faint smile. Tang Wulin chose to remain silent. Also, your second trial is about to begin, kid. That's a test of your mental fortitude, so go into seclusion, Tang Wulin said. Tang Wulin nodded before going into seclusion. A serious look appeared on Tang Wulin's face as he cast his gaze toward the Star Doe forest. They are about to make their move, Tang Wulin murmured. So be it. I said I wouldn't interfere, so I definitely won't. Spirit Pagoda Headquarters East Wind Through the Ages was currently conversing with Sengoku Jokio. It was clear that they'd been conversing for some time. Sengoku Jokio said in a cold voice, Nana used to study at the Shrek Academy, and Tang Wulin was her classmate at the time. Furthermore, Tang Wulin was the class president and Nana was the vice class president when they were in the outer court. They were even in the same team. East Wind Through the Ages furrowed his brows slightly. Go on. Sengoku Jokio said, we originally had this information, but there were some things that we didn't know. I bribed an outer court disciple who was later expelled from the Shrek Academy, and he told me something very important. During the Poseidon Fated Blind Date, Tang Wulin once proposed to Nana, and Nana even agreed to his proposal. What did you say? East Wind Through the Ages was shocked. Sengoku Jokio said in a deep voice, although I was very jealous when I heard this information, and even wanted to question Nana, I still held back. Because from the current situation, this information is an opportunity for us to break out of this situation. East Wind Through the Ages' eyes flashed. You mean to say that we should use Tang Wulin's feelings for Guyuna? Sengoku Jokio nodded. Their feelings for each other should be very deep. According to the outer court disciple's description, that should be the case. Tang Wulin isn't the only one who likes Nana, and Nana should have a good impression of him as well. Otherwise, she wouldn't have agreed to his proposal during the Poseidon Fated Blind Date. But why is Nana still with us? She should have made a choice, or rather, she's conflicted in her heart. She knows that Pagoda is more suitable for her development, but she still likes Tang Wulin. I'm guessing that the Shrek Academy's destruction is the reason why she's so determined to follow us. East Wind Through the Ages asked, what do you plan to do? Grandpa, the information I mentioned to you about Nana and the matchmaking convention every night is an opportunity. This is an opportunity, Qiangu Zhangting said. East Wind Through the Ages trembled. He immediately knew what Sengoku Jokio wanted to do. It would have been better if you didn't mention it. Are you trying to scare me to death now that you mention it? That's Her Grace and her sister's matchmaking convention. Do you want to die? You want to lure Tang Wulin out and let him participate in the matchmaking convention to settle things with him. If you win, not only will you suppress Shrek and the Tangmen, you might even be able to win Nana and every knight's heart, right? Are you confident? East Wind Through the Ages said with a trembling voice. That's right. Grandpa, don't worry. I'm very confident in my charm. Sengoku Jokio said as he flicked his hair. Shameless. But their eldest sister doesn't like you at all. Even if they agree to you, their eldest sister, Tang Yuling, will make them leave you. East Wind Through the Ages said with a trembling voice. Eldest sister? Sengoku Jokio was stunned. He didn't even know about Tang Yuling's existence. That's her. East Wind Through the Ages took out Tang Yuling's photo. It's her. Sengoku Jokio said with a shocked voice. What? You know her? East Wind Through the Ages was shocked. The first time I met her, it was Tang Wulin who was carrying her on his back when she was asleep. They seemed to be very close, Sengoku Jokio said. What? East Wind Through the Ages was shocked. His first thought was that Tang Wulin and Her Grace had some sort of ambiguous relationship, but the next moment, he felt that something was wrong. No, maybe it's because Tang Wulin likes his sister, and Her Grace personally tested Tang Wulin to see if he was qualified, he thought. Grandpa, you said that she's Gu Yuna and Byakuya's eldest sister? Then maybe I can also. Before Sengoku Jokio could finish, East Wind Through the Ages slammed the table and scolded, Bastard! Do you want to die? What's wrong? Sengoku Jokio didn't know what he said to make his grandpa so angry. She's very strong. She's a god. You want to blaspheme a god? Are you trying to destroy our family of the ages? East Wind Through the Ages had never been so angry before. His grandson wanted to flirt with a god? He was simply courting death. God a god? Sengoku Jokio's expression was very rich, and his face was full of shock. He wanted to flirt with a god? However, that girl was actually a god? Other than shock, there was only a trace of greed left. That girl was a god? That's great. As long as he could find a way to flirt with her, then he could ask her the secret to becoming a god. This guy definitely doesn't want to live anymore. Grandpa, it's even better if she's a god. Think about it, if your grandson managed to flirt with a god, how strong would he be? Sengoku Jokio said with a smile. Strong your mom. East Wind Through the Ages really wanted to scold his grandson to death. He didn't know how terrifying a god was. Grandpa, if I successfully flirt with her, then wouldn't I become a god's groom? At that time, I'll be famous in the continent of Doloa, and I'll make Tang Yuling a member of our family of the ages. At that time, who in the continent of Doloa would dare to mess with our family of the ages? More importantly, I might even be able to ask Yuling the secret to becoming a god. Grandpa, I'll tell you the secret. Then you'll have the chance to live forever. This. East Wind Through the Ages fell into deep thought. To be honest, the temptation was really great. However, she had seen Her Grace's strength, and she was definitely at the level of a god. How could Sengoku Jokio make her a member of the family of the ages? Grandpa, I know what you're thinking. You just need to lend me the family's treasure and you'll know. Watch your grandson shine at the matchmaking convention. Nana, every night, and Yu Ling will be the future daughter-in-law of our family of the ages. Sengoku Jokio seemed to have already seen him in a groom's outfit, and Gu Yuna didn't need Tang Yuling to marry him in a bride's outfit. Oh my, this kid is really turning white. I can't stop him from courting death. So, it's better if you die. East Wind Through the Ages' heart was about to jump out of his chest. Luckily, Her Grace wasn't here, or his grandson would really be done for. Did he really think that a god like Her Majesty the Queen would be interested in him? There should be a limit to his narcissism. At a certain place, Tang Yuling, who was grooming Byakuya, who had turned into a white wolf, suddenly moved her ears. Then, she snorted softly. What's wrong, mistress? Mistress? Bai, who had turned into a white wolf, asked curiously. You should have heard it right? Xiaoyi. Tang Yuling said calmly. Byakuya doesn't want to listen to the nonsense of an arrogant guy. It'll dirty my ears. Mistress, don't pay attention to him. He's just a clown. The only one who's worthy of mistress is master. Byakuya said. Haha. I like hearing you call me mistress. Tang Yuling smiled as she patted Byakuya's furry head. I have to call you that. Your master's evil incarnation. In a sense, you're my master. Byakuya muttered in her heart. Mistress, are you doing this to force Master to come here? Byakuya asked. Yes. Force him to come here, and then make him marry me. Tang Yuling looked at the ceiling and said calmly. However, Byakuya could see the anticipation in Tang Yuling's eyes. Byakuya chose to remain silent. Master's evil incarnation had fallen in love with Master. Could this be what Master's previous master told me about, the legendary self-attack? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.